Chapter 222. Good child, you half-blood beast men aren't wrong. What's wrong is that you half-blood beast men don't have a god protecting you. Along with a slight sigh, Yang Feng, shrouded in sacred light, stepped into the void and walked over, looking like the embodiment of a god walking in the secular world. When Catherine saw Yang Feng walk out midair, it was as if she saw a glimmer of hope in the depths of a dark and despairing hell. The eyes of the Wolfman warrior flashed with a glint of graveness. He grabbed Catherine and threw her aside, then faced upwards and issued a shrill howl. Enemy attack, the other party is a human wizard. The Wolfman warrior had just issued a shrill howl, when Yang Feng took a step, appeared in front of it, and a sword ray flashed at its neck. What a fast sword! The last thought flashed in the mind of the Wolfman warrior. Immediately after, its head flew high, and a mouthful of hot blood sprayed out of its body. The drops of blood sputtered towards Yang Feng, but were ricocheted after coming into contact with the life force field protecting him. Not a single drop of blood stained him. The wolf cavalrymen were battle-hardened elites. After hearing the warning of their comrade, they immediately picked up their weapons and ran towards their battle wolves. Yang Feng flicked his fingers, and the level 0 spell arcane projectiles bombarded the heads of the wolf cavalrymen like raindrops. When the wolf cavalrymen were hit in the head by the level 0 arcane projectiles, as if hit by a heavy hammer, they bled from their facial orifices and fell to the ground. The eyes of a dozen huge wolves flickered with a sinister glint. Their figures flashed, and they madly pounced at Yang Feng. When the dozen-plus wolves appeared in front of Yang Feng, he blurred into motion. Instead of retreating, he charged into the wolf pack and slashed at the wolves with the secret treasure sword forged from divine blood steel in his hand. After a dozen grams of divine blood steel were added to an ordinary fine steel sword, it could slice through iron as if it were mud. The secret treasure sword forged entirely from divine blood steel was extremely sharp. Wherever the sword rays passed, the hard bones of the huge wolves were easily sliced apart as if tofu. The sword rays interweaved, and the dozen huge wolves were turned into countless pieces, with blood spraying everywhere. So strong! Is he a god who has come to save us? Catherine's beautiful eyes reflected Yang Feng's figure, her heart brimming with excitement and worship. In her still slightly immature mind, a powerhouse like Yang Feng was a top powerhouse in the world, and gods were nothing more than this. When the wolf cavalrymen saw how terrifying Yang Feng's strength was, they immediately howled, mounted their giant wolves, and scattered. Yang Feng creased his eyebrows slightly when he saw the wolf cavalrymen flee in all directions. He cast spider web to trap 8 of the most ferocious wolf cavalrymen, and then stopped his pursuit. The biggest advantage of the wolf cavalry was their high mobility. If they couldn't beat them, they would choose to escape. It was very difficult to annihilate them. Catherine got up and stared at Yang Feng. After hesitating for a moment, she gritted her teeth and asked, "Sir Wizard, are you here to capture us?" Over the years, the people that appeared in the Kasama district were either human slave hunters or the ferocious beastmen winter hunt army. Kathleen asked with a hint of fear in her voice. Catherine knelt in front of Yang Feng. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of unswerving determination, and she implored, "If you want to capture us, then capture me. I can be your slave, and I can also be your test subject. I only beg you to let the other people in our village go." Yang Feng looked at the sensible half-blood beast man girl who was willing to sacrifice herself, sighed slightly, and reached out to help her up. "Good child, get up. I'm not here to capture you. I'm just a great wizard Ian who pursues the truth and walks on the path to godhood. If you want to obtain enough power and knowledge to protect your people, to prevent half-blood beast men from being humiliated, to stop being called bastards, and to live with dignity on this land, come to this place to meet me tonight." Yang Feng pointed with his finger, a ray of light entered Catherine's forehead, and a message was imprinted in her mind. Yang Feng handed Catherine the sword forged from divine blood steel in his hand. His body collapsed, turned into countless specks of light, and disappeared. When Catherine saw Yang Feng disappear before her eyes, she became absent-minded. If she hadn't seen the sword in her right hand, she would have thought that everything was a dream. When Catherine's gaze fell on the 8 wolf cavalrymen bound by spider webs, her eyes practically spurted flames of anger, and she strode over. At this time, the remaining dozens of half-blood beastmen of the half-blood beastman village gathered together, staring at the 8 wolf cavalrymen with eyes full of hatred and fear. A wolf cavalryman bound by spider webs glared and threatened fiercely, "Fuck! You lowly bastards, why don't you let us out right now? If anything happens to me in your village, our copper wolf tribe will definitely send soldiers to slaughter all the people in your village." Yi Zichen thought. Even the dozen villages around you are no exception. Let us go, and we'll spare your lives. The eyes of the remaining dozens of half-blood beast men flashed with a touch of fear. The brutal copper wolf tribe had massacred a lot of villages. Some of these half-blood beast men had wandered into this village from villages that had been massacred. A middle-aged man with a pair of dog ears and an ordinary appearance hesitated for a moment before saying, "Let's release these few werewolf masters." Another half-blood beast man with wolf ears also hesitated, and said unwillingly, "Yes. Let them go." The eyes of a somewhat good-looking young woman with a pair of cat ears flashed with hatred, and she screamed mournfully, "Don't let them go. Kill them. These bastards let their giant wolves eat my husband and child. I want these bastards to pay with their lives. I can't let these bastards off. Are you still men? These bastards had their wargs eat our people, they bully and humiliate our women. You still want to let them go? Are you still men, are you still human?" When they heard the hoarse roar of the cat-eared young woman, the half-blood beast men lowered their heads, and their eyes flashed with shame and helplessness. The eyes of the middle-aged man with a pair of dog ears teared up, and he almost shouted, "Human! Are we half-blood beast men still human? In the eyes of everyone in this world, we half-blood beast men are just slaves, natural slaves. I also want to be a dignified person. But we were born to be slaves, this is our fate. Do you want to implicate the lives of dozens of people in our village in order to vent your anger? Besides, those dozens of villages are hundreds of lives. The dead are already dead, but we still have to live." When they heard the tragic words, many half-blood beast men wept with tears in their eyes. They also wanted to be human and live with dignity, but the whole world of the Feisua Plain rejected them. The whole world thought that they were bastards, natural slaves. They wanted to resist, but they didn't have the power to. No one would teach half-blood beast men magic and martial arts. Without knowledge and inheritance, they could only fall behind. They didn't even have the power to resist. One of the wolf cavalrymen trapped in the spider web spat out a mouthful of saliva and sneered, "Tui! A lowly slave will always be a lowly slave. No. In this world, no one is a natural slave. As long as we don't think of ourselves as slaves, then we will never be slaves. These bastards must die." With the sword forged from divine blood steel in hand, Catherine walked over from the side, took a step forward, and slashed at the wolf cavalryman. A sword ray flashed, and the wolf cavalryman, who was extremely arrogant a moment ago, was cut in two. Its sinister head revealed a trace of astonishment. It never expected that it would be killed by a half-blood beast man like Catherine. Before anyone could react, Catherine brandished her sword and killed the 8 wolf cavalrymen one by one. The blood gushing out of the wolf cavalrymen splashed all over her, making her look full of a heroic, bloody, and bewitching temperament. She looked like a goddess of war who killed her way out of a sea of blood. With a look of horror on his face, the middle-aged half-blood beast man knelt on the ground, shivered, and accused with grief and indignation, "Catherine, you killed them. You actually killed them. It's over, it's over. It's over, we're screwed. We're screwed. The strength of the copper wolf tribe isn't something we can resist. That human wizard doesn't appear at any time. He just acted on a whim and saved us. But he can save us for a while, but he can't save us forever. Now that you've killed these 8 werewolf masters for a moment of pleasure, you've sown the seeds of calamity for our village." When the half-blood beast men saw this, they were both delighted and afraid, not knowing what to do. From the bottom of their hearts, they naturally wanted to kill the 8 ferocious wolf cavalrymen. But when they thought of the consequences of killing the 8 ferocious wolf cavalrymen, they were terrified. Catherine's beautiful eyes blossomed with radiance, and she barked, "Have you ever thought about why we half-blood beast men are so miserable? We were born to be regarded as slaves, and can be hunted and killed wantonly like livestock." The half-blood beast men fell silent. They had been pondering this question since they were born, but they hadn't come to a conclusion. Catherine said loudly, "That's because we half-blood beast men don't have a god of our own. Without the protection of a god, we are bullied and humiliated. Not long ago, a great god was finally willing to take pity on us half-blood beast men, and sent an emissary to help us. That human wizard is a divine emissary sent by that great god to save us half-blood beast men." Chapter 223. Interesting. This Catherine is really outstanding. She can adapt to the situation. I just gave her a little poke, and she could react like this. That's amazing. Every race has its geniuses. She should be a half-blood beast man genius. If there is a beau loup, then there is a horse. Horses are common, but beau loup is rare. It's quite interesting to be a beau loup. Above the clouds, sitting on the magic carpet, Yang Feng looked at the holographic scene projected by the holographic projector, and the corners of his mouth rose into a smile. The middle-aged man with dog ears was taken aback, and then whispered, "Is there really a god willing to take pity on us half-blood beast men?" Expectant and hopeful gazes focused on Catherine at once. Catherine's thoughts revolved, and she said loudly, "That's right, the name of the great god is Ian. He will send a divine emissary to guide us half-blood beast men out of our predicament and no longer be slaves to others. We half-blood beast men are not natural slaves." "Great. That's great. Thank you, great god Ian. Praise you, great god Ian." The half-blood beast men praised loudly with tears streaming down their faces. Pure faith power diffused from them, and then gradually dissipated because they couldn't find a target to attach to. In the sky, Yang Feng cast a secret method and looked at the faith power that appeared and then collapsed and dissipated from the half-blood beast men, and he sighed slightly, "What a strong faith power. I'm afraid that each of them has reached the pinnacle of shallow believers and is infinitely close to true believers. Suffering is really the best way to harvest faith power." Believers were divided into 6 classes: non-believer, pseudo-believer, shallow believer, true believer, fanatic, and saint. In addition to non-believers, even pseudo-believers would provide a trace of faith power when they silently recited prayers. Under normal circumstances, with the same prayer time and the same soul strength, the faith power provided by 100 pseudo-believers was only comparable to that provided by one shallow believer. The faith power provided by 100 shallow believers was equivalent to that provided by one true believer. The faith power provided by 100 true believers was equivalent to that provided by one fanatic. The power of faith provided by 100 fanatics was equivalent to the power of faith provided by one saint. Of course, if a creature's soul was strong enough, then the power of faith they provided would also be stronger. Therefore, there were many species that did not have a lot of numbers, but their individual souls were strong enough. Their gods were also very powerful. The half-beast men race had suffered a lot. Without the protection of the gods, they were one of the most vulnerable races. Yang Feng chose half-blood beast men because this race, which had suffered hardships, was more likely to give birth to devout believers who could provide large amounts of faith force. In the plain of Turandot subcontinent, those vampires were being hunted by humans. They also suffered a lot. They were full of pious hope to give birth to a god of the vampires. That kind of strong obsession made most of them existences above the level of true believers. Coupled with their soul strength that far surpassed that of ordinary people, they were able to allow the Blood Clan King Rarit to ignite his divine fire and evolve into a demigod. Under Catherine's reassurance, the half-blood beast men began to clean up the village and bury their loved ones. At the same time, they skinned the giant wolves and began to cook them. Although the giant wolf meat was not tasty, but it was rare meat that they could obtain. Time passed slowly. The sky had just turned slightly dark. Catherine took the sword forged from divine blood steel and quickly went to the place where she and Yang Feng had agreed to meet. After arriving at the place, Catherine began to practice the swordsmanship that was full of mistakes under the weak moonlight. This was the only martial art she could learn. Don't practice it. You're practicing the wrong swordsmanship. If you continue to practice it, you'll only ruin your body. Under the weak moonlight, Yang Feng, shrouded in a faint sacred radiance, slowly walked out from the side. Master Ian. Thank you very much for saving the people of our village. Catherine prostrated herself on the ground, kowtowed 5 times, and expressed her thanks to Yang Feng. This was the highest form of thanks given to her by a former slave by a half-blood beast man. Yang Feng said, "Get up." Yes. Catherine stood up at once, looked straight at Yang Feng with a clear and firm gaze, and said, "I want to get enough power and knowledge to protect my people, so that half-blood beast men will no longer be humiliated, no longer be called bastards, and can live with dignity on this land. Please teach me what to do. I'm willing to pay any price. As long as I have it, you can take it. I'm a wizard who pursues the truth and walks on the path to godhood. I need you to become the pope of my church and spread my faith among half-blood beast men. Half-blood beast men who are willing to believe in me and don't violate my doctrine will receive my protection. Half-blood beast men who receive my protection will receive food that can be preserved fruits, clean water, a safe residence, and live with dignity. Anyone who tries to capture you will be my enemy. My army will tear those enemies to pieces. Catherine, are you willing to become the pope of my church and spread my faith among half-blood beast men? This is a path full of thorns and sacrifices. I alone won't be enough. I need the entire half-blood beast men to continuously struggle and make countless sacrifices. Only then will there be hope for success." Shrouded in sacred light, Yang Feng spoke slowly like the embodiment of a god. "I'm willing," Catherine said without hesitation. Half-blood beast men were discriminated against on the Feisua plain, with no one passing on knowledge about power to them. Now that someone finally got an opportunity, they naturally wouldn't let it go. Yang Feng extended his hand, and a knowledge crystal appeared in his hand, which flew towards Catherine. This is a knowledge crystal that can be practiced until the demigod rank martial art Lion King battle scripture. Crush it, and you'll master this martial art. Yang Feng didn't lack secret methods that could be practiced until the Starry Sky Warlock rank. In the Tyrannid subcontinent, the 6 great warlock groups all had secret methods that could be practiced until the Starry Sky Warlock rank, and there were even 3 secret methods that could be practiced until the Moonlight Warlock rank. However, the 3 secret methods that could be practiced until the Moonlight Warlock rank were all ancient secret methods. The requirements were too high, and he couldn't achieve them. The Lion King battle scripture was one of the 3 secret methods that could be practiced until the Moonlight Warlock rank. This was a secret method that human warlocks learned from the Feisua Plains Beastman Divine Systems Lion God Arketh and then improved upon it. This was one of the reasons why Yang Feng chose Catherine, a Lion Man half-blood Beastman girl. Kathleen reached out and grabbed, directly crushing the knowledge crystal of the martial technique. That was the secret technique of the Lion King battle scripture. The next moment, it entered her mind. Not long after, a huge phantom of a lion suddenly appeared behind Catherine, emitting a powerful pressure. This was the power inherited from her bloodline, and now, it was finally stimulated by the Lion King battle scripture. When Yang Feng saw this, the corners of his mouth rose slightly. Not bad, the power of her bloodline is beyond my imagination. It seems that either her father or mother is a divine descendant with God's bloodline flowing through them. I've struck it big this time. Catherine let out a roar towards the sky, and a wave of war lion chi gushed out from her body. Her figure flashed, and she executed a complete set of Lion King fist technique in the open space. Boom! After Catherine executed the complete Lion King fist art, she finally slammed her fist into the ground and blasted open a small fist imprint. Catherine's figure shook slightly, and she arrived in front of Yang Feng. Her beautiful eyes were filled with adoration and gratitude. Thank you, sir, for teaching me the Lion King battle scripture. Catherine will never forget your kindness. Yang Feng smiled and flicked his finger, and another knowledge crystal flew into Catherine's hand. The Lion King battle scripture is the signature martial art of lion men of the Beastman Empire's royal family. Except for lion men, the effects of cultivating it aren't good for other people. I'll teach you the radiant battle text. Any beast man can cultivate this martial art. If you cultivate it to the pinnacle, you can become a legend rank warrior. Catherine alone wasn't enough to support the entire half-blood beastman race. Most people could cultivate an inherited martial art, which was the foundation for the prosperity of the race. Although the Radiant Battle text's grade wasn't as high as that of the Lion King battle scripture, but for the entire half-blood beastman race, it was much more precious than the Lion King battle scripture. Catherine crushed the knowledge crystal and memorized the Radiant Battle text's cultivation method. Then, she slowly opened her eyes and stared at Yang Feng. Although she didn't say any words of thanks, but her beautiful eyes were filled with unswerving determination. This is the Monarch's Sword. It can bless you with 4 spells: Inspire Courage, Monarch's Dignity, Extraordinary Physique, and Monarch's Power. This is the Monarch's Armor. It has a formidable defensive power and is blessed with 9 spells: Warping Force Field, Fire Resistance Enhancement, Water Resistance Enhancement, Wind Resistance Enhancement, Earth Resistance Enhancement, Ice Resistance Enhancement, Light Resistance Enhancement, and Darkness Resistance Enhancement. The future of half-blood beast men needs you to use these 2 weapons to forge it. With a flick of his wrist, Yang Feng handed Catherine a secret treasure sword forged entirely from divine blood steel and a secret treasure armor forged entirely from divine blood steel. In terms of material quality, the secret treasure sword forged entirely from divine blood steel already surpassed that of many legend-rank secret treasure swords. Its only shortcoming was that the magic attached to it wasn't strong enough. The same was true for the secret treasure armor forged entirely from divine blood steel. However, to the current Catherine, this was definitely a godly weapon-level treasure. Chapter 224. After Catherine left the hillside, she quickly returned to her village and gathered all the people in the village together. After Catherine gathered everyone, she immediately announced, "We can't stay here anymore. We have to leave and migrate elsewhere." Dick, a half-blood beast man with a pair of tiger ears, gave a long sigh and said, "We don't have much food. Besides, where are we going to migrate to? There's no place for us half-blood beast men to survive." Bitterness welled up in the hearts of the half-blood beast men present. Chuck, a tiger tribe half-blood beast man with a pair of tiger ears, a sturdy figure, and a 60% resemblance to Dick, suddenly pointed at a half-blood beast man with a pair of lion ears standing next to Catherine and asked, "Catherine, who is he? Why haven't I seen him before?" The half-blood beast men also looked strangely at the lion man half-blood beast man Yang Feng standing next to Catherine. Yang Feng said with a light smile, "Hello, I am one of the divine emissaries sent by the mighty god Ian to help you. My name is Caesar." After he finished speaking, frightening Sky Knight rank chi spread from Yang Feng, making it hard for the many half-blood beast men present to breathe. After warlocks used secret methods to condense a soul seed and establish a spirit sea, the power they obtained was named life energy by warlocks. It could simulate a variety of powers, and chi was no exception. Most of the half-blood beast men present weren't even knights and hadn't cultivated chi. As such, they couldn't resist Yang Feng's imposing aura. Divine emissary. There really is a god who wants to help us. Thank the heavens have finally opened their eyes. When the half-blood beast men felt the formidable aura released by Yang Feng, tears streamed down their cheeks and they muttered. When Chuck sensed the bottomless and frightening aura released by Yang Feng, he couldn't help but feel dispirited. He was well aware that with his strength, he would never be able to practice cultivation to Yang Feng's level. When Dick saw this, he no longer doubted Yang Feng's identity. The dozens of people in the half-blood beastman village weren't enough for Yang Feng to kill. If Yang Feng wanted to capture all of them and sell them as slaves, then they wouldn't have the strength to resist. These half-blood beastmen couldn't think of anything that could be plotted against them. After displaying his power, Yang Feng smiled and retreated to Catherine's side. Yang Feng needed to control half-blood beastmen through Catherine. After all, there were too many things that Yang Feng needed to do. In fact, every deity would have countless subordinates to share their burdens. Otherwise, even if they had divinity, they would be exhausted and would not have the time to train and enjoy themselves. Catherine's beautiful eyes flickered with expectation, and she said loudly, "Red Earth Wasteland." With his tremendous divine power, the great god Ian built a city for us half-blood beast men in the Red Earth Wasteland and purified a huge piece of land. There we have food to eat, clean water, and a safe place to live. We can live with dignity there and no longer be anyone's slave. A city that belongs to us beast men. Wonderful. If that's the case, that would be great. The beast men all cried tears of joy. A city that belonged to half-blood beast men, this was the dream of half-blood beast men for thousands of years. However, this was just a dream that no one had ever been able to realize. This was because they had no knowledge and no power. No one was willing to impart knowledge and power to these pitiful half-blood beast men, because they were the product of tragedy and were despised by everyone. Catherine said with a solemn expression, "However, the city that belongs to half-blood beast men can only be entered by believers of the great god Ian. If you want to enter the city with me, then you must believe in the great god Ian, the sole god of us half-blood beast men. Those who are unwilling can leave now." "I am willing to believe in the great god Ian." "Me too." None of the half-blood beast men present refused to believe in Yang Feng. In the face of the pressure of reality, they just wanted to live well. No matter which god gave them a way to live, they would believe in that god. This is an idol given to us by the god Ian. We need to pray to him every day to become his believers. At the same time, he will send divine emissaries to bless and protect us. Catherine took out an idol with a face 80% similar to Yang Feng's, yet it was shrouded in a layer of misty light, making it hard to see clearly, and placed it on the table. "Now, let's carry out a prayer ceremony. Learn from me." Catherine clenched her hands, closed her eyes, and silently recited a prayer. "Great Lord Ian. You are the ruler of half-blood beast men, a supreme divine being. You are the monarch of light. You are the sower of fear. Great Lord Ian. You are the invincible god of war. You are the guardian of the good and the weak. Great Lord Ian. We offer you our most pious faith. From now on, after death, we will return to your divine country. We will become your shield and resist all harm for you. We will become your sword and slash all enemies for you. Great Lord Ian. May your divine country become a star in the sky." Under Catherine's lead, the half-blood beast men began to earnestly learn her posture and prayed earnestly and devoutly. Pure faith power diffused from the half-blood beast men and entered the idol created by Yang Feng. Yang Feng looked at the faith power condensed on the idol, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. "I've finally taken the first step." Most of the people in the human race already had faith. In this world where gods constantly performed miracles, there were practically no non-believers among humans. Even among human slaves, many still had a god they believed in. If Yang Feng wanted to spread his faith among humans, it would be very difficult. The suffering half-blood beast men were his best choice. After the prayer ceremony was completed, the dozens of half-blood beast men present felt as if they had undergone a complete transformation. Their heart, and spirit were all different. Before this, these half-blood beast men were hopeless existences that couldn't see the light. Now, however, they saw the light of hope. Dick's eyes blossomed with endless anger, and he asked, "Catherine, can you contact the surrounding villages and towns and take them to the city you spoke of?" Catherine smiled and said, "Half-blood beast men who are willing to believe in our Lord are our dearest compatriots and can go to that city." Dick's eyes flashed with worry, and he said, "Since our Lord is so generous and great, I believe that all half-blood beast men will believe in him. But the biggest problem now is the winter hunt. The wolf cavalrymen are just the vanguard of the winter hunt. According to convention, the large-scale winter hunt is about to begin. The winter hunt was when the beastmen of the Beastman Empire would sweep through the Kasama region from time to time during winter. They would plunder the food of half-blood beastmen and capture the beauties of half-blood beastmen for their own enjoyment or directly sell to human slave merchants in exchange for various supplies. The winter hunt wasn't just a matter of the Copper Wolf tribe, but the main force of the entire Beastman Empire. They would hunt in the Kasama region. In front of the main force of the Beastman Empire, all of the half-blood beastmen's resistance would be crushed into powder. Among the half-blood beastmen, there were also ox half-blood beastmen, tigermen half-blood beastmen, lionmen half-blood beastmen, and elephantmen half-blood beastmen. These half-blood beastmen were born with divine strength, and their battle prowess far exceeded that of ordinary humans. There were also half-blood beastmen who resisted in the Kasama region, but they lacked weapons, cultivation techniques, and various inheritances of knowledge. They simply couldn't resist the attack of the main force of the Beastman Empire. The half-blood beastmen who resisted were slaughtered by the hundreds, and then hundreds more were thrown into the Kasama area, leaving them to fend for themselves. They wouldn't let those half-blood beastmen consume the food of the Beastman Empire. The main force of the Beastman Empire was definitely the existence that all half-blood beastmen hated and feared the most during the winter hunt. When the half-blood beastmen heard this, their eyes revealed worry. Catherine said in a deep voice, "I have a way." All eyes were focused on Catherine, filled with anticipation. Catherine looked around and said in a deep voice, "Before the winter hunt officially starts, the only threat to us is the Copper Wolf tribe. I'll take people to assassinate the chieftain of the Copper Wolf tribe. As long as we assassinate him, the vanguard of the Copper Wolf tribe will collapse without a fight. In this way, we can gain 10 days of time. 10 days is enough for us to contact many tribes. Which brother is willing to go with me to assassinate the chieftain of the Copper Wolf tribe?" "I'm willing." Contrary to everyone's expectations, a person took the lead and said loudly. Gazes focused on that person, revealing looks of surprise. Yang Feng was also very surprised. Because that person was the dog-eared middle-aged man Kun, who had bitterly advised everyone not to kill the 8 wolf cavalrymen. "Heh, I know what you're thinking. My wife and son died tragically at the hands of those beasts. Don't I hate those beasts? It was just that in the past, we didn't have the strength to resist. Now that a god is willing to shelter us, I, Kun, am willing to risk my life for the sake of the half-blood beast men. If I'm lucky enough to survive in the future and arrive at the place where my lord promised my race to rest, then I'll dedicate everything I have to my lord. This is the promise of me, a dog-eared half-blood beast man. Kun tore his tattered clothes and forcefully grabbed at them. His chest was immediately dripping with blood, and he cried out hoarsely, "My blood is also hot." Chapter 225. Is this the power of hope? Yang Feng silently looked at the blood on Kun's chest. His rock-hard mind was slightly shaken. "I'm willing to go with you." "Me too." After a moment of silence, none of the 56 half-blood beast men in the room cowered. Regardless of gender or age, they all spoke silently. Catherine made a prompt decision: the number of people needed for the assassination should be few, not many. "Caesar, Khan, Chuck, and I will be going for the assassination. Dick, organize the people and contact the surrounding villages and towns. We don't have much time, every minute is precious. Without any quarrel or hesitation, Dick nodded silently. At the border of the Beastman Empire and the Kasama region, there was a small city, the Frozen Rock City. The Frozen Rock City was the bridgehead of the Beastman Empire's winter hunt. This time, as the winter hunt's vanguard, the Copper Wolf tribe, was stationed here. As night fell, darkness enveloped the land. Catherine took Yang Feng's group of 3 to the front of the Frozen Rock City. Kun looked at the brightly lit Frozen Rock City from afar, and his eyes flashed with worry. Catherine, what do we do now? It looks like it's heavily guarded. Due to Yang Feng killing part of the vanguard, the defenses inside the Frozen Rock City became much tighter. At the entrance to the city stood 2 teams of fully armed wolfmen warriors. Above the Frozen Rock City, teams of werewolf warriors were constantly patrolling, ready to reinforce the warriors below at any time. The entrance to the city was covered in torches. Above the city wall, there was a thick torch at regular intervals, brightly illuminating the city. Catherine's gaze congealed slightly, and she said, Caesar, you speak. Yang Feng said with a light smile, everyone, follow me. Let's kill our way to the headquarters, and then behead the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. Chuck frowned and said coldly, that's easy for you to say. We don't even know how many soldiers there are in the Frozen Rock City or where the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe is, so how can we kill them? Besides, how can the 4 of us kill our way in? Even though he had acknowledged Yang Feng's identity as a divine emissary, Chuck was still very jealous of him. This was mainly because the beast men were ignorant and did not know the importance of a divine envoy. If it was in the 4 great empires, no one would dare to be so rude to an oracle sent by a god. The ignorant are fearless. This was the principle. Kun also focused his gaze on Yang Feng, wanting to see what Yang Feng had to say. He didn't think that the 4 of them could break into the city and kill the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. This is a treasure given to me by God. A long sword that could cut through any weapon and a full body armor that could block almost any weapon. And God is watching us. He will guide us to the location of the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. Yang Feng smiled faintly and flipped his hand, and 2 copper boxes appeared in front of Chuck and Kun. On top of the 2 copper boxes, there was a magic sword forged from divine blood steel. Yang Feng said lightly, put your hands on the box, and you'll get the divine warrior armor bestowed upon you by God. Without hesitation, Kun put his hand on the groove on top of the copper box. Bronze-colored magic radiance flickered, and pieces of armor flew out of the copper box and landed on Kun's body, covering every vital part of his body. Only some of his joints were exposed. There were 16 energy grooves on the divine warrior armor, each of which was inlaid with a superior magic stone. An incomparably powerful life mana emanated from the divine warrior armor and entered Kun's body, stimulating his body's potential and causing him to burst forth with aura. Qi. This is the power of Qi. Kun was slightly taken aback, and then his eyes flashed with ecstasy and he praised, Great God Ian, praise you. Upon seeing this, Chuck also put his hand on the copper box, put on the divine warrior armor, and was stimulated to give birth to Qi. The divine warrior armor looked like it had a lot of components, but in fact, it was extremely light. Each divine warrior armor weighed only 2.5 kilograms and was forged from divine blood steel. Because it was enchanted with lighten, brute strength, inspire courage, and several other spells, it wasn't heavy at all. On the contrary, the wearer would feel as light as a swallow and extremely nimble. These 2 divine warrior armors were the original versions of battle armor that Yang Feng had developed by combining warlock knowledge and Shizu technology. As long as the wearer had a strong enough body, they would possess formidable offensive and defensive power. On the battlefield, they would be just like a humanoid tank. Yang Feng waved his hand, and 2 gold boxes appeared in front of him and Catherine. Catherine reached out and pressed her hand on the groove of the golden chest. Countless golden armor plates flew out of the golden chest and surrounded her, forming a female warrior covered in golden armor. She wore a mask, and her facial features could not be seen clearly. Follow me. Yang Feng took the lead and stealthily moved towards the section of the frozen rock city's city wall. Catherine's group of 3 followed behind Yang Feng. When they reached the edge of the city wall, Yang Feng took a deep breath, tapped his foot on the ground, flew up, and easily landed on top of the city wall. The frozen rock city's city wall was only 6 meters tall. It couldn't stop an expert like Yang Feng. Yang Feng shook his hand, and a rope extended from the top of the city wall. Catherine's group of 3 quickly reached out and grabbed the rope. Yang Feng shook the rope slightly and erupted with Sky Knight rank power in a flash, sending Catherine's group of 3 flying towards the top of the city wall. In midair, Catherine didn't panic. She operated her chi, twisted her tender body slightly, turned her feet to the ground, and stomped on the ground, stopping her forward momentum. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with admiration. He took a step forward and pressed his palms on the abdomen of Chuck and Kun. A gentle force gushed out of his palms and caught the 2 of them. During his time on the Feisua Plain, Yang Feng could only rely on himself most of the time without the terrifying battle prowess of his mechanical legion. He forced out his potential. If Yang Feng had just left the Tarandit subcontinent, it wouldn't have been an issue to slap Chuck and Kun into mincemeat. However, he definitely wouldn't have been able to use his strength so effortlessly. Originally, Yang Feng was just an ordinary warlock who had accumulated all kinds of rare resources and elixirs. But now, after his tempering on the Feisua Plain, he could feel himself constantly transforming, becoming stronger, and grasping various knowledge more flexibly. When Chuck and Kun landed, they heaved a long sigh of relief. Yang Feng reached out with his hand, lifted Chuck and Kun, and jumped down from the top of the city wall. Catherine also jumped down from the top of the city wall. Once they entered the frozen rock city, the 4 people formed a battle formation. Yang Feng was at the forefront of the formation, Chuck and Kun protected his flanks, and Catherine was in the rear, bringing up the rear. Without hesitation, Yang Feng took the 3 people and plunged into the frozen rock city. Inside the frozen rock city, Yang Feng, as if aided by a god, avoided one squad of Beastman patrol warriors after another, leaving Chuck and Kun full of admiration. They truly believed that Yang Feng had the guidance of a god. There was a small castle in the center of the frozen rock city, which was the city master's mansion. Since the frozen rock city was the bridgehead for attacking the Kasama region, half-blood beast men would from time to time find ways to attack the frozen rock city and assassinate its high-ranking officers. Therefore, the city master's mansion was transformed into a small castle. The small castle's city wall was 7 meters tall. The city wall was brightly lit, and teams of wolfman warriors exuding an iron-blooded temperament were patrolling. The small castle was guarded by the trusted subordinates of the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. They were valiant warriors who had gone through countless battles, and each of them possessed formidable battle prowess not weaker than human knights. Follow me. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a scorching glint. His figure shook, and he took the lead, rushing towards the entrance of the small castle like a humanoid tank. Charge! Catherine ordered. Kun and Chuck looked at each other, then gritted their teeth and followed behind Yang Feng, rushing towards the small castle. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Atop the city wall, a wolfman warrior saw Yang Feng dressed in a golden armor at a glance, and he faced upwards and issued a shrill howl. As expected of elites, the werewolf warriors on the castle quickly made their preparations. 20 archers of the Copper Wolf tribe immediately stepped out and shot at Yang Feng. The 20 arrows turned into a rain of arrows and shot towards Yang Feng. Dang! Dang! Amid crisp sounds, the 3 arrows that hit Yang Feng's gold armor were ricocheted away. Braving the rain of arrows, Yang Feng rushed to in front of the gate of the castle. The magic sword forged from divine blood steel in his hand flickered with sword light, and he slashed the castle a dozen times in a row. Break! Yang Feng gave a furious roar and punched the gate of the castle. Boom! With a loud bang, the city gate was instantly torn into pieces, and countless fragments flew in all directions. The gate is broken. The gate is broken just like that. Coon and Chuck were dumbstruck, hardly daring to believe their eyes. Yes. If we follow him, we might really be able to kill the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. Next, hot blood welled up in the hearts of Coon and Chuck, and they were filled with hope. Catherine's beautiful eyes flickered with an extraordinary splendor, and she looked at Yang Feng's back full of worship, as expected of Master Ian. Chapter 226. Breached. The gate was breached. Fuck. How could the gate be breached just like that? When the Wolfman warriors saw the gate breached, they were dumbstruck, not daring to believe their eyes. Yang Feng's group of 4 took the opportunity to rush into the castle and madly rush towards the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. Block them! Block them! A guard leader roared loudly and rushed towards Yang Feng's group of 4 with 50 Wolfman warriors. Yang Feng rushed towards the guard leader and slashed at him with a resplendent sword ray. The guard leader bellowed, and Earth Knight rank chi erupted from him in a flash. The fine steel sword infused with chi flicked at Yang Feng's sword. Ding! Under the horrified gaze of the guard leader, the fine steel sword in his hand broke into 2. The sword ray slashed down and instantly sliced the guard leader in 2. After slaying the guard leader, sword rays flashed around Yang Feng, and the Wolfman warriors near him were sliced in 2 along with their armor. Coon and Chuck, who were responsible for guarding Yang Feng's flanks, although they didn't know martial arts, but relying on the sharp magic swords and the divine warrior armor with astonishing defensive strength, they withstood the attacks of the Wolfman warriors and killed the Wolfman warriors one after another. Catherine also madly brandished the ruler's sword and killed the Wolfman warriors one after another. Blood spattered all over her, yet she didn't waver. Amidst the frantic fighting, she gained a deeper understanding of the Lion King battle scripture that Yang Feng imparted to her. As if a sharp knife cutting through tofu, Yang Feng led the 3 people to easily cut through the 50 Wolfman elite warriors, and then rushed towards the room where the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe was located. Along the way, there were no more organized troops blocking in front of Yang Feng. After killing a dozen guards in a row, Yang Feng's group of 4 rushed into a room. Inside the room, on the carpet, there were 4 naked corpses of half-blood beastman girls. Each of the 4 half-blood beastman girls was very beautiful, and they were only 15 or 16 years old. In the room stood a middle-aged wolfman with a pair of wolf ears, a furry wolf tail on his butt, a medium build, a face as if carved by a knife, and a cold and cruel temperament. Standing in the middle of the room with a blood-stained scimitar in his hand, the middle-aged wolfman stared coldly at Yang Feng's group of 4. That wolfman race man did not panic in the face of danger and said very calmly, "The 4 of you, how dare you? Do you know who I am? I am Ahriman, the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. A hereditary baron of the Orc Empire. If you dare to kill me, the Orc Empire will never stop hunting you down. Who sent you to assassinate me? I can pay you double the amount you paid. No, I'll pay you 3 times the amount, and then go kill the person who sent you. Kill him, and I can promote you in the Orc Empire, make you aristocratic barons of the Orc Empire, and give you hereditary fiefs and great wealth." On the Feisua plain, aristocratic titles and hereditary fiefs were things that many people yearned to obtain. Many martial path powerhouses and formidable wizards would serve human empires for aristocratic titles and hereditary fiefs. Martial path powerhouses had tyrannical strength and didn't have to worry about food and clothing. However, their next generation might not be able to learn their martial arts. Aristocratic titles and hereditary fiefs were the foundation of a family's inheritance and wealth. Unfortunately, I only want your head. Yang Feng's gaze swept past the naked corpses of the half-blood beastman girls, and his gaze became extremely frigid. His figure shook, and he strangely appeared in front of Ahriman and slashed at him with his sword. "A bunch of clowns, I just don't want to waste my strength. Since you're courting death, then I'll send you on your way." Ahriman snorted coldly. In a flash, frightening firmament night rank chi erupted from him, and he took a step forward and slashed at Yang Feng with a tyrannical blade. In the Orc Empire, the law of the jungle prevailed. For Ahriman, who respected the strong, to be able to become the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe, he was extremely powerful. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to suppress the pack of wolf cubs in the tribe. Ding! The blade and sword collided, and the fine steel blade in Ahriman's hand broke into two. Yang Feng's magic sword slashed down, and Ahriman's head was sent flying. The moment Ahriman's head was sent flying, his eyes flickered with incredulity, as if he couldn't believe that he was insta-killed by a sword. Your martial path strength might be good, but unfortunately, your weapon is too poor. Yang Feng grabbed Ahriman's head, who died with everlasting regret, and said faintly. Extremely hot blood spurted out of Ahriman's chest. Before it came into contact with Yang Feng, it was bounced off by the life force field protecting him. In real combat, weapons and equipment were extremely important, and could even play a decisive role. Ahriman's martial path strength might be even stronger than Yang Feng's, but he was insta-killed by Yang Feng, because he didn't know that the magic sword forged from divine blood steel in Yang Feng's hand was actually so sharp. A powerful weapon could instantly increase a martial artist's battle prowess by several times. This was also the reason why Yang Feng's 5 magic swords could be auctioned at sky-high prices. Kun's eyes flowed with tears, and he sobbed uncontrollably. Formidable faith power diffused from him. We actually did it. We actually assassinated the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. This is a miracle bestowed upon us by the gods. Praise you, mighty god Ian. Praise you. Yang Feng felt the faith power coming from Kun, and was slightly surprised. True believer. Not bad, I really couldn't tell that this Kun was a good seedling. Yang Feng took out a spear, inserted Ahriman's severed head on it, and strode outside. Ahriman is dead. The frozen rock city has been captured. Yang Feng had Kun carry Ahriman's severed head, and shouted when he saw people. When the Wolfman warriors saw Ahriman's severed head, their morale began to collapse, and they became polarized. Eyes bloodshot, some Wolfman warriors madly rushed at Yang Feng and company, before being killed by Yang Feng and Catherine. Even more werewolf soldiers broke down and fled the city lord's manor. Yang Feng and company killed their way to the city master's mansion's prison. Catherine took the lead. After killing a dozen plus Wolfman warriors, she broke into the prison. I am Catherine, a divine chosen sent by the mighty god Ian to rescue us half-blood beast men. I am a lion man half-blood beast man. I'm here to rescue you. Anyone who is willing to believe in my lord, the mighty god Ian, can be redeemed. Who is willing to believe in my lord, Ian? As soon as Catherine broke into the prison, the gold visor fell off, revealing her heroic and beautiful appearance as well as lion man half-blood beast man characteristics. Shrouded in a layer of sacred light, she shouted. I am willing to believe in the mighty god Ian, save me. I am also willing to believe in the mighty god Ian, save me. In the prison, there were hundreds of handsome young men and women who were captured by the Copper Wolf tribe. When the young men and women in the cages saw Catherine shrouded in a layer of sacred light, as if they had seen a god, the young men and women wept and pleaded. Yang Feng's group of 3 stepped forward, slashed open the cages with their swords, and liberated the hundreds of half-blood beast men inside the cages. Catherine said solemnly, pick up the weapons you can and follow behind us. You need to protect your own lives. The hundreds of half-blood beast man youngsters silently picked up the weapons of the slain prison guards, and then followed behind Catherine. Yang Feng said, let's go to the granary. Once we burn the granary, we can leave. Catherine nodded slightly, then turned to the half-blood beast man youngsters and said, follow behind us. The half-blood beast man youngsters silently followed behind Catherine. Under Yang Feng's lead, the group of people killed their way towards the granary of the frozen rock city. Along the way, the Wolfman warriors who stuck their heads out were chopped into pieces by Yang Feng. The half-blood beastman youngsters went up and picked up their weapons. You really came. I guessed that your next target would be the granary of the frozen rock city. You lowly half-blood beastman bastards. When you see Uncle Randy, why aren't you on your knees? Do you want to die? Suddenly, a group of 200 wolf cavalrymen armed to the teeth rushed out of the granary. The arrogant and tall wolfman expert in the lead glared at the hundreds of half-blood beastman youngsters and bellowed. In a flash, frightening Sky Knight rank chi gushed out of him. Under the pressure of the Sky Knight rank expert, the half-blood beastman youngsters revealed looks of fear. Sky Knight rank experts had already stepped into the ranks of extraordinary life forms. There was an essential gap between them and ordinary life forms. Their imposing manner wasn't something that ordinary people could resist. Randy, I have killed Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe. His head is here. If you surrender now, it's not too late. Otherwise, only death will await you. Yang Feng lifted Ahriman's head, shook it at the Copper Wolf tribe's cavalrymen, and shouted loudly. Chief Ahriman's head. Is Chief Ahriman really dead? When the wolf cavalrymen of the Copper Wolf tribe saw Ahriman's head, their hearts shook at once. Ahriman, who possessed the strength of a firmament knight, was the #1 expert of the Copper Wolf tribe. For such an expert to die tragically at Yang Feng's hands, Yang Feng's strength could well be imagined. Taking advantage of the Copper Wolf tribe's wolf cavalrymen's shock, Yang Feng blurred into motion and rushed towards them. Go to hell. The Copper Wolf tribe's wolf cavalrymen were extremely ferocious. 2 wolf cavalrymen slashed at Yang Feng. Without dodging, Yang Feng rammed into them like a humanoid demonic beast. Ding! When the 2 fine steel blades slashed at Yang Feng's gold armor, they were ricocheted away. The perlicutes of the 2 wolf cavalrymen trembled, and the 2 fine steel blades flew out of their hands. With flashes of sword rays and surging of chi, the 2 wolf cavalrymen were instantly shaken into countless pieces of flesh and blood that splashed about. Amid the mist of blood, Yang Feng appeared in front of Randy and slashed at him with his sword. Randy's complexion changed dramatically. Although he still had more than 100 subordinates around him, but at this moment, he was the only one facing Yang Feng's tyrannical sword strike. Randy mustered his chi, bellowed, and raised his sword at Yang Feng's sword. As long as he could block this sword strike, the wolf cavalrymen around him could swarm Yang Feng and cut him into pieces. Ding! Under Randy's horrified gaze, his sword was cut in 2 as if tofu. The sword ray slid along his neck, and his head flew high into the air. A large amount of blood gushed out of his headless corpse and scattered in all directions. In the midst of the wolf cavalrymen, Yang Feng erupted with firmament knight rank chi and roared into the sky, I killed Randy. Which one of you wants to die? Dumbfounded, the wolf cavalrymen couldn't believe their eyes. At the same time, intimidated by Yang Feng's imposing manner, they didn't act rashly for a moment. Yang Feng's blood boiled and divine energy of massacre surged. Sword rays flashed in his hand, and sword rays extended into the surroundings. In the wake of the sword rays, wolf cavalrymen were torn apart and turned into countless pieces. Under Yang Feng's frenzied slaughter, the wolf cavalrymen began to divide. Some wolf cavalrymen angrily rushed at Yang Feng, wanting to avenge Randy. Even more wolf cavalrymen lost their courage and dispersed. After killing dozens of wolf cavalrymen in a row, there were no more wolf cavalrymen left in front of the granary. Only Yang Feng remained, standing proudly in the midst of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. So strong. So strong. Sir Caesar is so strong. Can we half-blood beast men also give birth to such an expert? This scene was imprinted in the eyes of the half-blood beastman youngsters, and their hearts were filled with shock. Kun gazed at Yang Feng's back, his heart surged, and his eyes flashed with fanaticism. Divine emissary Caesar is really strong. Only such an expert can be called a divine emissary. There's finally hope for us half-blood beast men. Chapter 227. Yang Feng treaded on the blood-stained road and arrived in front of the frozen rock city's granary. With the flash of a sword ray, the gate of the granary made of steel collapsed into countless pieces, revealing large tracts of grain inside. When the half-blood beast-man youngsters saw the large tracts of grain inside the granary, their eyes practically glowed green, and they swallowed their saliva several times. The living environment in the Kasama region was extremely harsh. The half-blood beast-man youngsters basically only had some sour berries, wild vegetables, and some edible roots to barely fill their stomachs. It was the first time they had seen so much grain. Kun said with some reluctance, somewhat respectful, "Sir Caesar, can't we find a way to transport this grain back?" Catherine's big, expressive eyes also stared straight at Yang Feng. "Yes. Take it back." The half-blood beast-man youngsters also spoke one after another. Yang Feng said faintly, "No, we don't have that much time. Let me tell you another piece of bad news. According to the oracle of the mighty god Ian, the Bloody Lion monarch Lawrence is already on his way here with 20,000 elites of the Bloody Lion slave-hunting group." Kun's complexion changed greatly, his eyes flashed with fear, and he said in a trembling voice, "Lawrence. It's that fiend." Catherine's beautiful eyes were filled with endless anger. At the same time, fear shrouded the abyss of her beautiful eyes. "Lawrence, that bastard. He's here. Lawrence. That fiend is here. It's actually that fiend." The faces of the half-blood beast-man youngsters were drained of blood, their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with fear. The Blood Lion monarch Lawrence was the uncle of the current emperor of the Beast-Man Empire, and he was conferred the title of Grand Prince. He was extremely cruel and had presided over winter hunts against half-blood beastmen several times. Others presided over winter hunts and would release water to raise fish, so they wouldn't kill people indiscriminately in the Kasama region. As for the Blood Lion monarch Lawrence, he was extremely cruel and vicious. At that time, he slaughtered all the resistance forces in the Kasama district, including those who surrendered, and massacred the villages where the half-blood beastman resistance forces had been active. Even the beastman villages that did not participate in the rebellion were massacred indiscriminately, making the people of the Kasama district tremble in fear and hate them endlessly. Yang Feng said solemnly, "Only by burning the food can we stop their advance. Otherwise, they will only continue to hunt us down for food." Kathleen nodded silently. Yang Feng took out an oil can, poured kerosene on the grain in the granary, lit a torch, and threw it into the granary. The flames immediately rose up in the granary, and the tongue of fire quickly spread across the granary. "The granary is on fire. It's over. What should we do? Lord Ahriman seems to have been killed. What should we do now?" Within the frozen rock city, the werewolf troops fell into chaos. After Ahriman was killed, there was no one else in the Copper Wolf tribe who could convince the masses. When some ambitious experts of the Copper Wolf tribe saw the flames rising in the granary, they knew that they couldn't continue. They immediately led their troops to escape from the frozen rock city and fled towards the Copper Wolf tribe. Whoever could escape to the Copper Wolf tribe first would gain a huge advantage. Yang Feng took the hundreds of half-blood beastman youngsters to the armory and opened the door. After everyone picked up a few weapons, they swaggered out of the frozen rock city. In front of the nameless village where Catherine lived. Standing at the gate of the village, Dick looked in the direction of the frozen rock city from time to time, his eyes filled with anxiety. Was I too impulsive? 4 people want to go to the frozen rock city to assassinate the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe. This is simply an impossible miracle. Just the position of the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe is hard to determine. Dick gazed into the distance, the wrinkles on his eyebrows seemed to have increased. He smiled bitterly and sighed, "There's nothing we can do about it. Even if it's a life-saving straw, we have to firmly grasp it. We have no way out." A middle-aged man with a pair of cat ears and an aged face slowly walked over and said with a bitter smile, "Yes, Dick, we have no way out. All we can do now is pray to the great god Ian to bless them. 4 people going to assassinate the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe in the heavily defended frozen rock city sounded like a fairy tale. After the half-blood beast men calmed down from their excitement, it was normal for them to be worried. Dick asked, "Burrow, how is it? How did the villagers react?" Burrow smiled bitterly and said, "They basically agreed to go with us. However, there's a precondition. If Sir Caesar can assassinate the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe, then they'll go with us. If not, then they'll just do what they did in the past, try to find a place to hide, resign themselves to fate, and pray that they can escape the winter hunt." The half-blood beastmen's resistance to the winter hunt was just to find a place to hide, resign themselves to fate, and try to avoid the winter hunt. After all, the time for the winter hunt organized by the Beastman Empire was limited. After catching a certain number of beastmen, they would withdraw from this place. It was also a huge cost to feed the 10,000 to 20,000 elite troops. It was impossible for the Beastman Empire's army to stay in such a barren area like the Kasama district for a long time. Dick suddenly asked, "Why did Sir Caesar assassinate the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe instead of Catherine?" Burrow said flatly, "We watched Catherine grow up. Don't we know how strong she is? Even if she received the guidance of the gods, it's absolutely impossible for her to have the strength to assassinate the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe." Dick was silent for a moment, then gave a long sigh and nodded slightly. "That's... Someone is approaching our village." Burrow's expression suddenly tightened. He stared into the distance and his eyes flashed with a sharp glint as he said, "I'll go back to the village and have everyone hide." "No. No need. It's Caesar, it's Sir Caesar, they're back alive. My son, Chuck, is alive. Thank God. He's finally alive." Dick's eyes widened, his body trembled, and his speech became somewhat incoherent. Tears of excitement flowed down from his eyes. "Haha. They're back alive. Haha. I'll go back and tell everyone the good news. I'll go back and tell everyone the good news." Burrow was also incoherent with excitement. As if he had turned into a young man, he rushed into the village. "Sir Caesar is back. Sir Caesar and them are back alive. Everyone, come out. Sir Caesar and them are back alive." As soon as Burrow rushed into the village, he shouted loudly. "What, Sir Caesar and them are back alive? They're back alive? In other words, they assassinated the chief of the Copper Wolf tribe?" More than 100 half-blood beast men poured out of the village, many of which were representatives of other villages. These days, they felt like a year in the village. Now that they heard the news of Yang Feng's party, they were extremely excited and rushed out of the village. When the half-blood beast men rushed to the entrance of the village, they saw Yang Feng and Catherine walking side by side, followed by Kun and Chuck, and followed by hundreds of armed half-blood beast man youngsters. Kun raised the spear with Ahriman's severed head high and shouted, "We're back. Sir Caesar has killed Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe. This is his severed head. Long live the great god Ian. Long live the great Sir Caesar. They did it. They actually did it. They killed him. They actually killed Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe. This is a miracle. Only with the guidance of a god can such a miracle be realized. There's finally hope for us half-blood beast men." When the half-blood beast men saw the spear with Ahriman's severed head, tears of excitement immediately streamed down their cheeks. "Long live the great god Ian. Long live the great Sir Caesar. Long live the great god Ian. Long live the great Sir Caesar." Bursts of cheers came from the crowd. Yang Feng could clearly perceive traces of faith power diffusing from the half-blood beast men, and then being absorbed and condensed by the idols he created. Dick slowly walked up to Yang Feng, prostrated himself on the ground, tears streaming down his face, yet said solemnly, "Great divine emissary Sir Caesar, thank you very much for bringing hope to us half-blood beast men." Countless tears flowed down from the eyes of the half-blood beast men. The more than 100 half-blood beast men came up to Yang Feng, prostrated themselves on the ground, and expressed their most sincere gratitude with tears streaming down their cheeks. For countless years, the suffering race of half-blood beast men had never seen hope. Even when the half-blood beastman resistance army appeared, they were easily suppressed by the beastman empire and human slave hunters. Now, a god dispatched a divine emissary. Almost miraculously, a trifling 4 people assassinated Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe, who was in the frozen rock city and was guarded by several thousand wolfman warriors. This finally gave the half-blood beastmen a glimmer of hope. When the half-blood beastman youngsters saw this, tears streamed down their cheeks, and they prostrated themselves on the ground in front of Yang Feng. Chuck hesitated for a moment, then finally sighed slightly and prostrated himself on the ground in front of Yang Feng, no longer having any thoughts of competing with Yang Feng. In the battle to assassinate Ahriman, he had already witnessed Yang Feng's mystical abilities and formidable strength. Such a person was not someone he could compare to. He was also a half-blood beast man, and he longed for the freedom and dignity of half-blood beast men. Chapter 228. As long as you are willing to piously believe in the great God Ian, then the great God Ian will bless you just like this. Yang Feng pointed with his finger and cast the level 1 spell Divine Illumination. A heart-warming sacred light suddenly appeared and enveloped everyone present, warming them up slightly. Yang Feng then flicked his finger, and a large amount of super recovery elixirs made from a combination of alchemy and Shizu technology turned into a fine mist that mixed with the sacred light. Under the effect of the super recovery elixirs, the half-blood beast men only felt a burst of warmth, and then became more relaxed. Many people were pleasantly surprised to find that many of their internal injuries had disappeared. Healing divine spells were a must-have divine spells for churches to preach. Only with healing theurgy could churches develop rapidly and gain more believers. As Yang Feng wasn't a god, he could only simulate the effects of healing divine spells through the combination of alchemy and Shizu technology. Many half-blood beast men were shedding tears of happiness under the holy light. This was the first time they had been healed by a divine spell and the first time they felt the power of a god. Now, I will teach you the first tome of the radiant battle text that the god Ian wanted me to teach you. Shrouded in sacred light, Yang Feng began to explain the first tome of the radiant battle text to the half-blood beast men. Originally, Yang Feng intended to have Catherine teach him this martial art. But now that the opportunity was right, he naturally wouldn't let it slip by. The scene was silent. Apart from Yang Feng's voice, there was no other sound. Every half-blood beast man eagerly listened to Yang Feng's every word, full of piety. All half-blood beast men knew how precious martial art knowledge was. Any martial art was a secret of the major races and the foundation of their foothold. No one would teach martial arts to half-blood beast men. The error-ridden swordsmanship that Catherine practiced was something that a half-blood beast man's slave paid a great price to secretly learn. Half-blood beast men, who had suffered countless hardships, had a thirst for knowledge that far surpassed that of other races. Yang Feng looked around, and his gaze fell on Kun. Okay. I'll stop here for today. Any half-blood beast man who is willing to believe in the great god Ian can practice this radiant battle text. Kang'en, get up. Kun got up and said respectfully towards Yang Feng, yes, Caesar Darren. Yang Feng handed Kun a knowledge crystal with the radiant battle text recorded on it. This is a knowledge crystal, it contains the next few levels of the radiant battle text. Crush it. Kun crushed the crystal, and the knowledge regarding the radiant battle grimoire entered his mind. After Kun opened his eyes, he became even more respectful and said, thank you, Sir Oracle, for teaching me this martial technique. Yang Feng said, from now on, you and Catherine will master the complete radiant battle text cultivation method. As long as one's strength reaches a certain level and is willing to worship my lord, you can teach them the continuation of this martial skill. Kun's eyes flashed with unswerving determination as he said respectfully, yes. Sir Oracle. Yang Feng's eyes flashed with a touch of graveness, and he said solemnly, okay, get up. Right now, the most important thing was to immediately contact all the half-blood beast men to carry out the Great Migration. The great god Ian has issued a divine decree. The Bloody Lion monarch Lawrence is already rushing over with 20,000 elite troops of the Bloody Lion slave hunting group. The Bloody Lion monarch Lawrence. It's that fiend. Fuck. Go inform everyone, the fiend is here again. When they heard the name of the Bloody Lion monarch, the complexions of the half-blood beast men changed, their bodies trembled, and their eyes flashed with fear and anger. Under Dick's arrangements, the half-blood beast men from the nearby villages quickly returned to their villages and began to mobilize the half-blood beast men in the villages. The story of Yang Feng's embodiment of Caesar leading 3 people into the frozen rock city and then assassinating Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe quickly spread in the Kasama district along with the half-blood beast men from the villages and the half-blood beast man youngsters he rescued. As if a plague, a large number of half-blood beast men rushed over from all directions, gathered into a torrent, and dragged their children towards the bloody wasteland. Before long, more than 100,000 half-blood beast men emerged from the corners of the Kasama region, joined the huge torrent, and headed towards the Red Earth wasteland under Yang Feng's lead. A few days later, Dick found Yang Feng and said with a worried expression, "Sir Caesar, we're almost out of food and water. What do we do? Some panic has spread among the crowd. Without new food and water, I'm afraid that the team won't be able to sustain itself." The most frightening thing about the Red Earth wasteland was that there was no food and water. Although the Kasama region was barren, but there were still some berries and water. In the Red Earth wasteland, shrubs were very scarce. As for water, it was even more scarce. With a confident look on his face, Yang Feng got up and said faintly, "I see, let's go. We want food. We want water. Give us some food. I want to drink water." In the huge half-blood beast men migration team, many half-blood beast men squeezed in front of Dick's army of half-blood beast man men and pleaded. Due to the haste, many half-blood beast men only brought some food and water. After a few days, they couldn't hold on any longer. The half-blood beast man warriors could only barely stop the half-blood beast men from rushing over. Otherwise, it would lead to a huge riot. "Sir Caesar is here. The divine emissary Sir Caesar is here." All of a sudden, exclamations came from the side. The half-blood beastmen's gazes focused on Yang Feng. The noisy half-blood beastmen quieted down at once and focused their longing gazes on Yang Feng. Yang Feng's embodiment of Caesar broke into the frozen rock city and killed Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe amidst the heavy defenses. After being spread by word of mouth, Yang Feng's embodiment of Caesar broke into the frozen rock city, insta-killed Chief Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe, and killed half of the people in the frozen rock city with his breath. Due to such rumors, the half-blood beast men were both respectful and fearful of Yang Feng. "Sir Divine Emissary, we didn't cause trouble, nor do we want to cause trouble. However, my child hasn't drunk water for 2 days. I just want her to drink some water. I beg of you, be merciful. If there is any punishment, bestow it on me. Let my child go, and don't drive us away." A half-blood beast man with many wrinkles on his face knelt in front of Yang Feng and pleaded bitterly. The half-blood beast man girl, who was about 13 or 14 years old and could be vaguely seen to be a beauty but whose lips were somewhat cracked due to the drought. The half-blood beast man girl knelt in front of Yang Feng and pleaded bitterly. Now that the half-blood beast men were in the Red Earth wasteland, there was no way out. Once they were driven away from the main force, only death would await them. "Sir Divine Emissary, we were wrong, don't drive us away. Sir Divine Emissary, we were wrong. Spare us this time." The half-blood beast men knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Yang Feng, imploring. "Silence." Yang Feng frowned slightly, then erupted with a frightening firmament night rank aura in a flash and barked, suppressing the voices of the half-blood beast men. "You weren't wrong. I promised you that as long as you believed in my Lord would give you preserved fruit, food, and clean water. If I didn't do it, then I would be the one at fault. I'm very sorry, I didn't realize that you were already in such a predicament. I'm sorry. As a divine emissary, I failed in my duty. Yang Feng bowed slightly, saluted the half-blood beast men, and apologized. Under the effect of the level 2 warlock rank secret method, the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men heard Yang Feng's voice. Now, please come with me. The mighty god Ian has responded to my plea and agreed to show us his power so that we no longer lack food and clean water. Shrouded in sacred light, Yang Feng treaded on air, deviated slightly from the main road, and headed southwest. The half-blood beast men followed behind Yang Feng and headed southwest. After walking for about 1 kilometer, Yang Feng pointed at the ground with the exquisite and luxurious scepter in his hand and said solemnly, "The mighty god Ian said that a water source will appear here to quench the thirst of my believers." Yang Feng's words had just fallen, when a large amount of red dust suddenly rose from the boundless red earth, revealing a huge pond full of water. Seeing this scene, the half-blood beast men were dumbstruck, unable to believe their eyes. Apart from the Rhine River, there was practically no other water source in the red earth wasteland. Yet now, with a few words from Yang Feng, a huge pond appeared in front of the half-blood beast men, which was simply a miracle. Yang Feng pointed at the surroundings of the pond with the exquisite and luxurious scepter in his hand and said solemnly, "The mighty god Ian said that a treasure tree will appear here to quench the hunger of my believers." Breadfruit trees grew out of the earth around the pond, matured quickly, and turned into trees full of breadfruits. The dozen or so breadfruits suddenly split open, releasing a fragrance unique to breadfruits that filled the area. Long live the mighty and benevolent god Ian. Shocked by this scene, the half-blood beast men prostrated themselves on the ground and said in unison. Chapter 229. This is the water and food bestowed upon you by the mighty god Ian. Before enjoying the water and food, let us pray. Standing in the void, Yang Feng was shrouded in a sacred radiance. His words became enigmatic, full of mystery and holiness because of the miracle he just displayed. After seeing the miracle displayed by Yang Feng, the confusion in the hearts of the half-blood beast men disappeared, and they were filled with hope for the future. They knelt on the ground, clasped their hands in front of their chests, closed their eyes, and began to recite prayers towards the idols. Mighty Lord Ian, extremely rich faith power diffused from the half-blood beast men and entered the idols. Yang Feng looked at the faith force, and the corners of his mouth rose into a smile. So many true believers. Sure enough, miracles are the fastest way to attract believers. These miracles were naturally small tricks that Yang Feng had prepared beforehand. The pond that appeared out of thin air was a result of Yang Feng transporting the pond's water here, and then covering it with a membrane and a layer of nano-robots resembling red clay. As for the breadfruit trees, they were the breadfruit tree seeds that Yang Feng had treated with spells at the cost of thousands of magic stones. The breadfruit trees could only grow for a day before they withered. However, paying such a huge price in exchange for more than thousands of true believers, Yang Feng still felt that he had made a huge profit. Every once in a while, the gods of the Feisua Plain would display some miracles to show their existence in order to expand their influence and gain more faith power. Yang Feng frowned slightly, and his eyes flashed with worry. Unfortunately, the bloody lion monarch Lawrence isn't a simple character. He came so fast. The Frozen Rock City. The Frozen Rock City, which was more than half burned by Yang Feng, had changed greatly. There were huge barracks and tents everywhere. Above the tents, there was a huge banner with a bloody lion embroidered on it. The Bloody Lion Monarch's knights were the elite army commanded by the Bloody Lion Monarch Lawrence. Every single one of the 20,000 Lion King cavalrymen was a member of the Lion tribe. Every single one of them was an expert who had been through hundreds of battles and cultivated Do Chi. The Bloody Lion King Knights were the most powerful elite army in the Orc Empire. In addition to the Bloody Lion King Knights, there were also dozens of troops stationed in the barracks. Each troop had about 300 to 2,000 people. Although the Orc Empire was called an empire, it was actually heavily influenced by the tribal system. The Lion tribe and the Tiger tribe were the two most powerful tribes in the Orc Empire. They could only command those tribes to send troops to fight in all kinds of battles, but they could not truly control the armies of the major tribes. Although the Orc Empire was only one empire, there were also countless internal constraints, which was why it could not obtain more territory. The gods hiding behind the Orc tribes were also unwilling to let the Lion and Tiger tribes gain complete control. If that happened, the number of their believers would plummet, and it wouldn't do them any good. In the center of the frozen rock city, inside a huge tent. Who can tell me? Who could sneak into the frozen rock city and openly kill Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe? A handsome middle-aged man with a head full of golden hair, a pair of lion ears, and a lion tail wrapped around his waist said coldly. He was the Blood Lion King Lawrence, who had a burly figure and a handsome appearance. He glanced at the people below and said coldly. On both sides of the tent stood the generals of the Bloody Lion Monarch as well as the Beastman generals dispatched by the major tribes. The generals were as quiet as cicadas in winter and didn't say a word. Ahriman of the Copper Wolf tribe was assassinated in the heavily guarded frozen rock city. This matter had become a laughing stock in the Orc Empire. At the same time, it also hurt the nerves of the Orc Empire, which was why Lawrence rushed here so quickly. The Beastman generals knew that Lawrence must be furious at this moment, so they didn't dare to speak for fear of angering the Demon King. An ominous glint flashed in the eyes of the Bloody Lion Monarch Lawrence, and he said coldly, Ahriman, that trash, it doesn't matter if he died. But after he died, the provisions of the frozen rock city were burned by those damn rebels. It's simply a heinous crime. Pass down my order, have the Copper Wolf tribe hand over all of Ahriman's relatives and execute them. Yes. Your Highness. An expressionless Bloody Lion Knight responded coldly and then quickly retreated. The many generals of the Orc Empire below immediately shuddered, and they became even more fearful of Lawrence. The depths of their eyes showed a trace of sympathy for the death of a rabbit. After an empire's aristocrat died in battle, his relatives couldn't be protected. Many of the Beastman Empire's generals were full of dissatisfaction with Lawrence. But Lawrence was the empire's grand prince, cruel and bloodthirsty. He had a high status in the Beastman Empire, so naturally, no one dared to rashly offend him. Lawrence coldly swept a fat foxman Beastman with a glance and said coldly, Zaku, what's the current situation of the provisions? Zaku replied with some trepidation, Your Highness, the provisions we currently have are only enough for us for 5 days. The subsequent provisions are being transported from the Empire. In about 10 days or so, all the provisions will be in place. The effects of Yang Feng's fire, which burned the provisions the vanguard of the frozen rock city had prepared for the slave hunters' army, finally showed. Lawrence said with a cold smile, 10 days. I can't even wait a day. Pass down my order, the Silver Lion tribe will guard the frozen rock city. The rest of the tribes will follow me into the Red Earth wasteland to hunt those half-blood Beastman beasts. Zaku's complexion changed greatly, and he hurriedly advised, Your Highness, you mustn't. The half-blood Beastmen have been in the Red Earth wasteland for several days now. We don't have enough provisions. Even if we catch up and defeat them, we won't have any provisions to return. A Wolfman general frowned slightly and stepped forward to advise, Your Highness, I think what Zaku said makes sense. If we pursue them now, it will be considered a victory. We won't have any provisions to return. Besides, we still have to support the more than 100,000 half-blood Beastman slaves. Our current provisions are just a drop in the bucket. Besides, there's also the issue of water. The Red Earth wasteland is arid and lacks water. It's too dangerous to rashly go there without preparations. Lawrence's eyes flashed coldly, and he said frigidly, Do you want to disobey a military order? Didn't you hear that this is my order? The Wolfman General lowered his head and said slowly, "This subordinate wouldn't dare. However, it's too dangerous to rashly break into the Red Earth Wasteland. If we're not careful, our main forces will be wiped out in the Red Earth Wasteland. Your Highness, please reconsider." Lawrence's eyelids didn't twitch, and he said coldly, "Those who disobey orders will be executed. Kill him." A Lion Man guard standing next to Lawrence instantly erupted with frightening chi comparable to a sky knight. He took a step forward and slashed at the Wolfman General like a meteor. A blade ray flashed. Before the Wolfman General could react, his head, which was full of astonishment, flew high into the air, and a large amount of blood sprayed out of his chest and splashed throughout the camp. When the generals of the Beastman Empire saw this, their eyes flashed with grief and indignation, but they lowered their heads. In front of the Empire's Grand Prince, Lawrence, even if they wanted to resist, they were powerless. Lawrence's eyes flashed with a cruel glint, and he sneered, "Listen up, with the strength of our army, we can stop those half-blood Beastman hybrids before they enter the depths of the Red Earth Wasteland. As for provisions and water, you don't have to worry. Since those half-blood Beastman hybrids can enter the depths of the Red Earth Wasteland, they must have water and food. Even without water and food, we can drink their blood and eat their flesh. Then, we'll capture those hybrids that dared to provoke the Beastman Empire. Let them know that they were born to be our slaves." When the generals of the Beastman Empire heard that, they felt a chill in their hearts. Although Lawrence's words were very reasonable, but the generals of the Beastman Empire, who considered themselves civilized people, were quite resistant to eating intelligent life forms like half-blood beastmen. But being in the Beastman Empire, they had no choice. Lawrence said coldly, "Do you understand?" The generals of the Beastman Empire responded in unison, "Understood." Lawrence waved his hand and said, "Understood, go execute the order." The generals of the Beastman Empire left and began to assemble their orders. "By the way, my good nephew, Garrux. Do you have anything else to add?" After seeing the generals of the Beastman Empire leave, Lawrence looked at the blonde, blue-eyed, handsome, and imposing young man beside him with a smile that wasn't a smile and provoked. Garrux said with a smile, "My dear uncle, you are the commander of this army. I have no objections." Lawrence said with a smile, "The Frozen Rock City is our path of retreat. Guarding the Frozen Rock City is also a great achievement. Don't worry, I'll leave a few little beauties for you from the half-blood Beastman slaves we catch." Garrux was the commander of the Silver Lion tribe. Lawrence deliberately left the Silver Lion tribe in the Frozen Rock City in order to prevent Garrux from making a great achievement. The Beastman Empire valued military merit the most. If Garrux didn't have enough military merit, he wouldn't be able to convince the masses. The reason why Lawrence wanted to personally lead the main force to pursue the half-blood Beastmen was to obtain enough military merit and improve his reputation in the Beastman Empire. No generals of the Beastman Empire believed that they couldn't defeat the half-blood Beastmen, who had no knowledge, no military force, and no equipment. Pursuing the half-blood Beastmen was a feast for dividing wealth and military merit, while guarding the Frozen Rock City was a thankless task. This was the consensus of the generals of the Beastman Empire. Garrux had a smile on his face as if he didn't notice Lawrence's hidden malice. "Thank you for your good intentions," Lawrence said with a satisfied smile. "Garrux, you're getting more and more sensible." Garrux said, "Dear uncle, I still remember that I have something to do. I'll take my leave first." Lawrence didn't care at all. "Then you can leave first." Garrux got up and slowly walked out of the tent. Lawrence stared at his back and sneered, "If you want to share my merit, wait another 20 years. Dear Uncle Lawrence, these half-blood beastmen aren't as simple as you think." After Garrux walked out of the tent, the bright smile on his face faded, and a chill flashed in the abyss of his eyes. You might get a surprise in this hasty pursuit. However, half-blood beastmen are really too weak. It's still too difficult to resist his bloody lion knights. After pondering for a while, Garrux suddenly sighed deeply, looked in the direction of the Red Earth Wasteland, and said inwardly, Caesar, I hope you can give me a surprise. Don't get killed by my uncle so quickly. All the warriors in Lawrence's Bloody Lion Knights were knight rank powerhouses and above. Great Knights were only small leaders. There were also a lot of Earth Knights and Sky Knights, 8 Firmament Knights, and even 2 Star Knights, level 3 Warlocks. The Bloody Lion Knights were simply too powerful. No matter how Lawrence tried to go against the flow, they wouldn't be able to escape. No matter how Lawrence acted, the Bloody Lion Knights could crush everything and suppress any resistance. Under Lawrence's order, 20,000 Bloody Lion Knights and 20,000 plus high-ranking officers of the Beastman Empire from various tribes, a total of 40,000 troops, carrying countless provisions and supplies, advanced towards the Red Earth Wasteland in a stretch of more than 10 kilometers. As the vanguard, 2,000 elite Bloody Knights riding extraordinary life-form demonic horned lions separated from the main force and chased towards the depths of the Red Earth Wasteland. Although Lawrence was cruel, but he was also very proficient in the art of war. The 2,000 elite Bloody Knights riding demonic horned lions were enough to easily defeat the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men. With his main force following behind, he could easily capture the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men. In the Red Earth Wasteland, Yang Feng's embodiment of Caesar suddenly frowned slightly and said with a cold smile, 2,000 Bloody Lion Knights as the vanguard? Without me, these half-blood beast men really wouldn't be able to resist. However, it's different now. Yang Feng thought for a while, and then had Catherine summoned. Catherine raised her eyebrows and asked, Sir Caesar, what's the matter? The pressure of the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men on Catherine and the upper echelon of the half-blood beast men allowed them to grow rapidly. Catherine was well aware that Yang Feng wouldn't look for her for no reason at this juncture. Yang Feng said solemnly, that mad dog Lawrence has caught up. I'm going to deal with him, so I'll leave this place to you. Chapter 230. Lawrence is here. Catherine's delicate body trembled slightly, and then her beautiful eyes flashed with a touch of determination and confidence, saying, Sir Caesar, don't worry, leave this to me. Catherine was like a beautiful raw stone that had become resplendent after being polished by the pressure of reality. She was fully capable of becoming the leader of the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men. Yang Feng nodded slightly, then his figure shook and he disappeared. After leaving the half-blood beast men army for a few kilometers, Yang Feng restored Ian's appearance, jumped lightly onto the magic carpet, and flew towards the 2,000 Bloody Lion Knights. Should I kill them all? Yang Feng pondered seriously as he sat on the magic carpet. With the various extraordinary plant seeds, the Moffin demonic polar bear, and other level, for extraordinary life form rank mechanical battle beasts at his disposal, he could wipe out the 2,000 Bloody Lion Knights. After contemplating repeatedly, the corners of Yang Feng's mouth suddenly rose slightly. No. I've got a good idea. In the Red Earth Wasteland. 2 streaks of red soil rose and extended from afar. 2,000 elite Bloody Lion Knights riding extraordinary life-form demonic horned lions chased after the half-blood beast men. Extraordinary life-form demonic horned lions were a kind of extraordinary life-form. They had a single horn, were a size larger than ordinary lions, and had no fur. Instead, they were covered in black scales. They were ferocious and belligerent extraordinary life forms with fast bursts of speed and could run long distances. Demonic horned lions were extraordinary life forms cultivated by the lion god Arkath when he was still a demigod. He sought out many gods, learned countless knowledge, and then cultivated them. Once a demonic horned lion reached adulthood, it would possess frightening battle prowess comparable to that of a great knight. Naturally, demonic horned lions were far inferior to the many extraordinary life forms cultivated by the Hellions in the Tyrannid subcontinent. However, on the Fesua plain, they were definitely the most tyrannical ground mounts. Many human cavalrymen would be timid when they saw the ferocious demonic horned lions. Before they could display 50% to 60% of their strength, they would be killed by the Lion Man cavalrymen riding the demonic horned lions. 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen could charge at 10,000 human cavalrymen, and they had full confidence in defeating them. If the human empires didn't have many wizards and all kinds of weapons, they wouldn't be able to fight the Beastman Empire. The Elven Empire was number 1 in jungle warfare, the Beastman Empire was number 1 in field warfare, and the human race was number 1 in siege warfare. This was a fact that was publicly acknowledged by the entire continent without any powerhouses above the demigod level participating in the battle. Suddenly, a hurricane rose from the red earth wasteland and swept towards the demonic horned lions. Countless grains of sand and stones rolled. At the same time, a thick fog suddenly appeared and enveloped the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen. In the fog, one couldn't even see their fingers in front of them. The 2 commanders of the demonic horned lion cavalry were shocked and shouted, "Charge! Hurry up and rush out!" The 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen sped up again and charged forward. Every now and then, a 10-meter-tall boulder will appear in front of the demonic horned lion cavalrymen. When the demonic horned lion cavalrymen galloping at full speed hit the boulder, they will bleed and scream miserably. "Stop! Stop the charge!" The 2 commanders of the demonic horned lion cavalrymen immediately shouted. The demonic horned lion cavalrymen stopped their charge and looked at the boulder blocking in front of them in shock and anger. The commander of the demonic horned lion cavalry said in shock and anger, "Damn it, this is the power of wizards. Damn magicians." In the red earth wasteland, such a strange mist had never been heard of. Obviously, only magic power could cause such a strange change. "There's a path here, follow me." The eyes of the commander of the demonic horned lion cavalry suddenly lit up. He vaguely saw a path leading to the outside world, and he said with a smile of excitement. The 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen followed behind the commander and strode towards the path. No one noticed that the eyes of the commander flickered with a trace of absent-mindedness. A mist and a life form dominate trapped the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen. "I'm so strong that I'm afraid of myself." Above the fog, Yang Feng looked at the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen circling in the magic fog, and the corners of his mouth rose into a smile. "However, the consumption is relatively large. For every day that I trap them, I have to consume 100 inferior magic stones." Yang Feng looked at the level 1 secret treasure mist disk placed on a boulder, smiled slightly, and mused. The mist disk could continuously release mist, but it also consumed a lot of energy. For every day that it was released, it would consume the power of 100 inferior magic stones. However, as long as he could trap the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen and prevent them from pursuing the half-blood beast men, Yang Feng's goal would be achieved. Otherwise, with their speed, they would soon catch up with the half-blood beast men and unleash a massacre. A day later, the mist shrouding the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen slowly dissipated. After the mist dissipated, the spirit of the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen collapsed, and they collapsed on the ground, gasped for breath, looked exhausted, and gulped down mouthfuls of water. Yang Feng played a little trick in the mist, making the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen as well as their mounts thirsty. The consumption of water was more than 5 times that of ordinary times. Lawrence led the main force of the Beastman Empire to catch up from the rear. When he saw the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen collapsed on the ground, Lawrence's complexion changed dramatically, and he shouted at once, "High Priest! Come out!" An old man with a pair of lion ears slowly walked out. He had 9 feathers on his head, and his face was painted with layers of camouflage paint. He looked old, like a pile of wrinkled orange peel that was squeezed into a ball. He was dressed in luxurious clothes and had a pair of lion ears. This old man was Danilo, Lawrence's high priest who had followed him in the army. On the Fesua plain, there were powerful beings with extraordinary power like wizards. The only thing that the Beastman Empire could contend against was the shaman priests who believed in gods. According to the classification of the Tsangji Plane, this high priest Danilo possessed terrifying strength comparable to that of a level 3 warlock. Lawrence pointed at the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen collapsed on the ground and asked solemnly, "High priest, what's wrong with them?" Danilo silently recited an incantation and pointed at the 2,000 demonic horned lion cavalrymen. Yellow light shrouded the demonic horned lion cavalrymen, and then the demonic horned lion cavalrymen emitted dark gray magic light. Danilo said unhurriedly, "There are magic fluctuations coming from them. They should have been hit by a spell like fog or labyrinth. It seems that there is a powerful wizard behind the half-blood beast men." Lawrence asked with some concern, "Are they going to be okay?" Lawrence was cruel and bloodthirsty, but he also knew that the Bloody Lion Knights were the foundation of his tyrannical and perverse behavior. If the warriors of the Bloody Lion Knights were all dead, his status as a Grand Prince in the Beastman Empire would plummet. Danilo said casually, "It's fine. As long as they are given some water and food, they will soon recover." Lawrence's face darkened slightly and became extremely unsightly. Danilo raised his eyebrows and whispered, "Is there not enough provisions?" Lawrence sighed hatefully, "There is enough provisions, but I underestimated the drought in the Red Earth wasteland. Marching here consumes 3 times more water than marching in ordinary areas. If we can't find a water source, we will have to retreat." The weather in the Red Earth wasteland was dry, and the moisture content in the air was thin. Lawrence didn't have the experience of marching on a large scale in the Red Earth wasteland. According to his experience of marching in ordinary areas, he carried water, but as a result, he was in a dilemma. Danilo said categorically, "Your Highness Grand Prince, don't worry. Don't the over 100,000 half-blood beast men need water to migrate in the Red Earth wasteland? With over 100,000 of them, they will need more water than us. Unless a god helps them, there must be a water source nearby." A Bloody Lion Knight quickly came to Lawrence's side and said with a mixed expression, "Your Highness Grand Prince, this subordinate has an important matter to report." Lawrence said, "What's the matter? Speak." The Bloody Lion Knight said with a look of grief and indignation, "We found a water source in the southwest. But the water source has been poisoned by those damn half-blood beastman bastards. A dozen brothers drank the water, and then were poisoned by those bastards." Lawrence's eyes flashed with ecstasy, and he burst into laughter. "Water source, haha. Sure enough, there's a water source. High Priest Danilo, I'll have to trouble you." Danilo nodded slightly and revealed a smile. Lawrence immediately led the army forward and soon saw a huge pond in front of him. Lawrence took several high-ranking officers and Danilo forward and arrived at the edge of the pond. At the edge of the pond, there were the corpses of a dozen demonic horned lions and their knights. Apparently, after the demonic horned lion knights saw the water source, they couldn't help but drink a few mouthfuls. Danilo arrived next to a knight's corpse, slightly opened its eyelids, and carefully examined it for a while. Then, he cut open the knight's corpse with his claws, licked the black blood inside, and closed his eyes. After a while, he silently recited an incantation, and a gray light enveloped his body and purified the toxins inside him. Danilo said solemnly, "This is molo grass mixed with black bat wings, lizard tails, heart-eroding grass, and a dozen other poisons. It's highly toxic. It's highly toxic. Even a demonic horned lion would be poisoned to death with just a sip of this pool of water." Chapter 231. Lawrence asked anxiously, "Can the priests purify it?" If the priests couldn't purify the toxins in the water, then no matter how unwilling Lawrence was, he could only choose to return home. Otherwise, he would be risking his life and that of tens of thousands of elites of the Beastman Empire. Danilo said lightly, "Yes. However, it will take the power of the entire priests to purify the toxins as soon as possible. Also, no external forces are allowed to disturb us while we are purifying it." Lawrence said solemnly, "All right. High Priest, don't worry, we won't let anyone disturb you while you are casting the spell. 200 apprentice priests, 30 priests, level 1 warlocks, and 5 shaman priests, level 2 warlocks, slowly walked out of the huge army. Under the leadership of the high priest Danilo, the apprentice priests and official priests began to recite prayers. This was a necessary ritual to cast a large-scale divine spell. Around the pond, 40,000 Beastman Empire's troops stood in front of the priests, guarding them. Just as the attention of the Beastman Empire's troops was focused on the priests, mechanical flying ants that looked almost identical to the red soil stealthily flew out of the red soil, flew to the buckets of clean water, bit through them, and drilled into them. When the mechanical flying ants drilled into the buckets, part of their bodies turned into wood, completely blocking the buckets. No abnormalities could be seen. The great lion god Arketh said that he will purify the water with his divine power, dispel the toxins in the water, and let us be nourished by the water of life. Then, we can move forward and kill all rebels. Danilo pointed at the pond with the scepter in his hand, and a stream of divine power flew out of the scepter and entered the pond. Countless strands of black gas rose from the pond, and under the effect of the divine power, they turned to ashes. Danilo heaved a slight sigh of relief. One more wrinkle appeared on his forehead, and a look of exhaustion flashed past the abyss of his eyes. It was much easier to destroy than to guard. Danilo could also easily poison a pond, but if he wanted to purify it, it would consume a lot of his energy if he did not have the right medicine. Priests could use divine spells to purify all kinds of curses and poisons. Of course, this kind of universal divine spell also consumed a lot of power. If a warlock came to purify the water in this pond, they would look for extraordinary life forms and extraordinary plants that could absorb toxins, or use neutralizing potions to neutralize the toxins. This way, it would not consume much of his strength. This was one of the biggest differences between warlocks and priests. Of course, if a warlock's knowledge wasn't profound enough, they might not be able to find a way to purify this pond. Lawrence stepped forward and asked, "High Priest, is it done?" Danilo said indifferently, "We've already purified the water in this pond, so there shouldn't be any problems. But for safety's sake, he had to boil it before drinking it. Then let the others drink." Lawrence nodded and immediately began to arrange for his subordinates to test the water source of the pond. After a series of tests showed no abnormalities, he had the people boil the water and then drink the water in the pond. As for himself and the 20,000 elite Blood Lion Knights, they drank the water brought from the frozen rock city. After the water source problem was solved, Lawrence arranged for the army to continue the pursuit of the half-blood beast men. A few days later, in the Red Earth Wasteland, the half-blood beastman migration army stretched for more than a dozen kilometers. Every half-blood beastman moved somewhat numbly and mechanically. Along the way, Yang Feng performed miracles one after another and provided them with enough water and food. However, the dry climate of the Red Earth Wasteland, the unchanging scenery, the pressure from the pursuers of the Beastman Empire, and the unfamiliar environment still left the half-blood beastmen breathless. If it wasn't for the successive miracles and the fact that there was no place to escape in the Red Earth Wasteland, the half-blood beastman migration army might have already collapsed. A city. A city. A city appeared. And trees. And trees. There are trees. There are really trees. Suddenly, screams of surprise came from the half-blood beastman migration army. The half-blood beastmen, who were hurrying on with their heads lowered and eyes numb, were startled. They raised their heads and looked ahead. They saw a city wall more than a dozen meters tall with no end in sight appear in front of them. Purification trees were planted around the city. As if an oasis had appeared in the desert, it was a moving sight. There's really a city. That's our half-blood beastman city. That's our half-blood beastman city. Long live the great god Ian. Great god Ian, praise you. When the half-blood beastmen saw the huge city that appeared in front of them, they were moved to tears. They called out and praised the god Ian. Extremely rich faith power gushed out of them and entered the idol made by Yang Feng. When she saw the huge city, Catherine's nose turned sour, and 2 streams of tears flowed out of her eyes. She mused, a city, that's our half-blood beast man city. In that city, we half-blood beast men can live with dignity. Thank you, Master Ian. Thank you. With tears in his eyes, Dick prostrated himself on the ground and said while stressing each syllable, My Lord Ian, you are really a generous and benevolent God. I'm willing to fight to the death for you. A city. There's really a city that belongs to us half-blood beast men. My Lord Ian, you are really the embodiment of benevolence and magnanimity. I'm willing to dedicate myself to you. When Kun saw the huge city located in the red earth wasteland, tears streamed down his face, and he knelt on the ground. Pure faith power diffused from him. Half-blood beast men prostrated themselves on the ground with tears streaming down their faces. They recited prayers and praised the god Ian. Powerful and pure faith power diffused from them and entered the idol made by Yang Feng. The corners of Yang Feng's mouth rose slightly, tens of thousands of true believers, 100 fanatics, and 1 saint. Among the more than 100,000 half-blood beast men, Kun, the former cowardly dog half-blood beast man, surprised Yang Feng a little. As for Catherine, she already knew the true face of the god Ian. Although she still worshipped and was grateful to Yang Feng, but she was still just a shallow believer. One of the important reasons why gods lived high above the stars was to maintain a mysterious and powerful image. Otherwise, the faith of mortals would weaken. Tens of thousands of true believers, 100 fanatics, 1 saint, and about 100,000 shallow believers. The quality of these believers was already much higher than that of believers of some small churches. In the Turandot subcontinent, the reason why the kindred monarch could ascend to godhood was that hundreds of thousands of kindred fanatically worshipped him and prayed for nearly 100 years, gathering a tremendous amount of faith power. With such accumulation, he ignited his divine fire in one fell swoop and promoted to a demigod. While the half-blood beast man believers prayed devoutly, a banner with a bloody lion pattern appeared behind them. The bloody lion king, Lawrence, had finally caught up with them from the rear with 40,000 elite soldiers. When Lawrence saw the huge city, his eyes congealed slightly, a cold glint flashed in his eyes, and he said frigidly, a city. I'm really surprised that there's such a city in a place like the Red Earth Wasteland. These half-blood beast man bastards really have someone supporting them. No wonder they dare to resist us. Lawrence barked, Cuddy. A beastman general with the cultivation base of a firmament knight took a step forward and responded loudly, this subordinate is here. Lawrence pointed at the half-blood beastmen prostrating on the ground with his horsewhip and ordered coldly, take your troops and disperse those bastards. Cuddy opened his mouth and said with a malevolent smile, yes. Your Highness Grand Prince, I will crush the resistance of those bastards. The Bloody Lion slave-hunting group. Lawrence, that fiend Lawrence is here. It's the Bloody Lion slave-hunting group. Shortly after Lawrence appeared with the Beastman Empire's army, screams of horror came from the half-blood beastmen. Panic spread among the half-blood beastmen like a plague. I'm Caesar. I'm here. Yang Feng stepped out of the crowd, rode his horse, and arrived among the half-blood beastmen. He raised his voice and suppressed the screams of the half-blood beastmen. Seeing Yang Feng arrive, the half-blood beastmen automatically parted and stared at him as if he was the embodiment of a god walking in the secular world. These days, the miracles performed by the legendary god Ian were performed by the divine emissary Yang Feng, which gave Yang Feng a respected status second only to the god Ian among the half-blood beastmen. Yang Feng raised his sword, a sacred radiance shone on him, and barked, I will take people to attack the damn beastman army. Who is willing to go with me to attack the damn beastmen, cut off their ugly heads, and uphold the glory of the mighty god Ian? I am willing to go with you. Catherine spurred her horse to Yang Feng's side. She put on the gold armor, and her beautiful eyes flickered with determination. Kun spurred his horse over with a solemn expression, I am willing to go with you. Chuck, who was also dressed in a bronze armor and holding a large blade, came to Yang Feng's side and said, "I am willing to go with you." Chapter 232. I'm willing to go with you. I'm willing to go with you. One after another, half-blood beast men stepped forward and looked at Yang Feng with solemn expressions. They were half-blood beast men who had just become true believers not long ago. Even some half-blood beast men who were just shallow believers silently walked out of the crowd and came to Yang Feng's side. "Dick, stay behind and preside over the situation. Now, everyone, charge with me. For the glory of the mighty god Ian, for the future of us half-blood beast men. Charge with me." Yang Feng pointed at the headquarters of Lawrence's army with his sword and barked. Catherine brandished the ruler's sword in her hand, and the spell-inspire courage enveloped the thousands of half-blood beast men. The thousands of half-blood beast men suddenly felt their blood boil, as if there was nothing they couldn't overcome. They were filled with courage. Then, together with Yang Feng, they madly rushed towards Lawrence's main army. A bunch of mobs. They're just throwing away their lives. I thought that they had some skill, but I overestimated them. In the end, they're just a bunch of ignorant bastards. When Lawrence saw Yang Feng charge towards him with thousands of half-blood beast men, his eyes revealed a look of contempt, and he sneered and ridiculed. The half-blood beastman generals, who were originally on guard, also revealed looks of contempt at this moment. The priests of the beastman race also showed disdainful smiles. They were battle priests who had fought alongside the army. At a glance, they could tell that the half-blood beastman mobs commanded by Yang Feng could not defeat the beastman elite army. A dog tribe general hurriedly flattered, "Your Highness, a single charge from me would be enough to defeat this motley crew. General Cuddy's strength is more than 10 times that of my army. He'll definitely win a great victory and cut off the heads of those rebellious bastards." Lawrence laughed heartily and said, "Haha. Well said. If Cuddy can't even get rid of these good-for-nothings, then I'll twist off his head myself." When the entire Beastman Empire saw Yang Feng lead the half-blood beastmen to charge, they thought that victory was in their grasp. Cuddy's eyes flickered with a bloodthirsty glint, and he said with a smile of excitement, "A bunch of mobs came to throw away their lives. Let me chop off your heads and earn my military merit." The Orc Empire placed great importance on military achievements. That was why the Orc generals were scrambling to find opportunities for war. In this way, the Orc Empire would naturally have as many experts as there are clouds in the sky. If it weren't for the fact that the human race had powerful mages and that they were extremely strong in defending their cities, they would have long been pressured to the point of suffocation by the orcs. Yang Feng looked at the 5,000 Lionman cavalrymen riding demonic horned lions coming at him, smiled coldly, took out a magic pouch, and pulled on a rope, and a copious amount of purple powder sprayed from the magic pouch, which drifted with the wind and entered the Lionman cavalrymen. When the Lionman cavalrymen came into contact with the purple powder, they felt dizzy and fell from the demonic horned lion's body as if they were drunk with several hundred kilograms of alcohol. The demonic horned lions also swayed slightly and fell limply to the ground. What is this? How could this be? I'm a heavenly knight. How is this possible? Cuddy also felt dizzy. His vision blurred and he could no longer see anything clearly. Enemy general, die. Yang Feng gave a fierce roar, took a step forward, and beheaded Cuddy with a sword strike. When the thousands of half-blood beast men rushed into the midst of the Lionman cavalrymen, their eyes shot with blood, they brandished their swords and killed the Lionman cavalrymen one after another. An incredulous look on his face, Lawrence cried out, "How could this be?" That was the 5,000 elite warriors of the Bloody Lion Knights. They were all elites of the Empire, and every one of them was at least a knight. Even in the Orc Empire, they were considered the most elite corps. For such powerhouses to be routed in a single clash, it was simply unbelievable. Impossible. How is this possible? The Orc Empire's generals were also dumbstruck, unable to believe their eyes. The 5,000 bloody lion knights could easily wipe out a small human principality. Such a formidable cavalry unit was actually routed in front of Yang Feng's motley crew. It was simply unbelievable. Yang Feng led the thousands of half-blood beast men to kill their way through the 5,000 bloody lion knights, and then charged towards Lawrence's headquarters with an indomitable momentum. Seeing Yang Feng so valiant, and then recalling the inexplicable collapse of the beast-man warriors, the eyes of the Orc Empire's generals flashed with panic. Danilo stepped forward and said slowly, "Don't panic. This is just the magic of the half-blood beast men. With our priests here, those half-blood beast men are just a bunch of clowns." "That's right. With the high priest here, it's impossible for us to lose." "Yes. With the high priest here, they're dead for sure. Those bastards are dead for sure." The expressions of the Orc Empire's generals relaxed slightly, and they revealed smiles. Danilo was a great warlock with formidable power. Once he cast a level 3 divine spell, its might was comparable to that of a level 3 warlock cast by a level 3 warlock. Even if his fleshly body and soul were far inferior to that of a level 3 warlock, but with the heavy protection, he could definitely display level 3 warlock rank destructive power in battle. Over the years, the Bloody Lion Knights had fought everywhere and won almost every battle. Danilo and his group of priests could be said to have made great contributions. Pfft! Danilo's words had yet to fall, when the Beastman apprentice priests, with looks of horror on their faces, sprayed black blood containing internal organs from their mouths and spread in all directions. Save, a priest's face suddenly turned black. He had just uttered a word, when he sprayed a mouthful of black blood and fell to the ground. As if they were infected by something, the shamans spat out mouthfuls of black blood one after another before they fell to the ground and died. Danilo's face changed dramatically, and he cried out, "Poisoned! Damn it, when did those half-blood beastman bastards poison us?" Danilo's words had just fallen, when he felt a cramping pain in his abdomen and his internal organs splitting apart. He sprayed a blood clot containing internal organs out of his mouth. Danilo seemed to have thought of something and a trace of despair flashed through his eyes. He reached out to grab Lawrence and shouted, "Lawrence, retreat quickly. This is a trap." Before Danilo could finish speaking, his body swayed, and he fell to the ground, dead. The destructive power of a level 3 divine spell cast by a high priest was comparable to that of a level 3 warlock, but their physique wasn't as strong as that of a warlock. As long as they weren't paying attention, it was very normal for them to be poisoned to death. Lawrence was secretly alarmed, and a black aura welled up in his cheeks. His chest tightened, and he sprayed a large mouthful of blood. At this juncture of life and death, he frantically urged his chi. In a flash, terrifying Star Knight rank chi erupted and forcibly suppressed the poison inside his body. The battle prowess of a Star Knight was comparable to that of a level 3 warlock, and the physique of a Star Knight was only slightly inferior to that of a level 3 warlock, yet it was far superior to Danilo's. At this moment, the level 2 extraordinary life-form demon-horned flame lion Lawrence was riding suddenly went berserk. It madly slammed into the rear, knocked away a dozen high-ranking officers of the Beastman Empire, and rushed towards the depths of the Red Earth Wasteland with Lawrence on its back. Lawrence, who had used all his power to suppress the poison inside his body, could only watch helplessly as the demon-horned flame lion pulled him towards the depths of the Red Earth Wasteland. The complexions of the generals and knights of the Bloody Lion Knights darkened, and they sprayed black poisonous blood and collapsed to the ground. The complexions of the chiefs from the major tribes darkened as well. After spewing a mouthful of blood, they fell from their mounts. The commander flag representing Lawrence collapsed to the ground with a loud rumble. "Lawrence is dead." Yang Feng operated a secret method and roared. In front of the Red Earth Wasteland, only his voice reverberated in the area. When the warriors of the Beastman Empire saw the high-ranking officers spurting blood and collapsing to the ground, coupled with the collapse of Lawrence's commander flag, they were at a loss as to what to do. Yang Feng led the thousands of half-blood beast men into the midst of the Beast Man Empire's warriors. As if a god of death, he unscrupulously killed all the warriors in front of him. The commanders of the Beast Man Empire's warriors were basically poisoned. They were either dead or disabled, unable to command the battle. The Beastman warriors who bravely tried to resist Yang Feng were chopped in two by him in a face-off. Countless Beastman warriors died miserably. The remaining Beastman warriors finally collapsed and fled towards the rear like an avalanche. Yang Feng, with a force of about 100 cavalrymen, drove the Beastman warriors away as if they were herding a flock of sheep. As long as the Beastman warriors had the slightest intention of sticking together, they would be killed by Yang Feng and his people, forcing them to abandon their helmets and flee in a sorry state. Catherine, with the thousands of injured half-blood Beastman warriors, madly slaughtered the 20,000 bloody lion knights who collapsed to the ground. Virtually all of the 20,000 bloody lion knights were poisoned. But some Sky Knight and above powerhouses, by virtue of their frightening physiques, barely managed to control the poison. Catherine led the thousands of half-blood Beastman warriors and didn't show the slightest bit of mercy. With boundless hatred, they crazily slaughtered the 20,000 blood lion knights. A bloody lion knight with the cultivation base of a Sky Knight shouted with a pale face, "Stop, I surrender." In the bloody lion knights, once they encountered an unstoppable force, they were allowed to surrender. Lawrence was willing to pay a huge price to redeem these loyal subordinates. Chapter 233. I surrender. Stay your hand, I surrender. The warriors of the Blood Lion Cavalry Regiment turned pale as they shouted in humiliation. If it was a head-on battle, they wouldn't fear any enemy. But now that they were poisoned, they could only wait to be slaughtered. They were very unwilling to die like this. When many half-blood beast men heard the bloody lion knights beg for mercy, they hesitated and looked at Catherine. On the Faisua plain, there was an unspoken rule. On the battlefield, if the enemy gave up resistance and was willing to surrender, generally, the other side would take them captive, and then demand a large ransom from the other side. Catherine's eyes flashed with killing intent, and she said coldly, "Kill them all, don't leave a single one alive." These bastards, when killing our compatriots, have they ever listened to the pleas of our compatriots? These bastards will only torture our compatriots more cruelly and take pleasure in it. These bastards don't deserve to live in this world. When the half-blood beast men thought of their miserable past, their eyes turned bloodshot, and they continued to brandish their blades and slashed at the bloody lion knights. "You bastards, you'll die a horrible death. You lowly bastards, I curse you," the bloody lion knights cursed frantically and continuously at the half-blood beast men. The half-blood beast men answered their curses with their blades, beheading the bloody lion knights one after another. The land in front of the city was dyed red with blood, as if hinting that the fate of the city would be accompanied by slaughter and blood in the future. Red dust rose, and the sound of horse hooves came from afar. On the horizon, the figures of Yang Feng and the 100 half-blood beast-man cavalrymen slowly appeared. "Long live Sir Caesar, long live the great god Ian. Long live Sir Caesar, long live the great god Ian." Deafening cheers erupted from the crowd of half-blood beast men. The half-blood beast men madly shouted the names of Yang Feng's embodiment of Caesar and Ian, and gazes brimming with fanaticism focused on Yang Feng. From the fanatical half-blood beast men, Yang Feng could feel traces of faith power slowly converging on him. That was the power of faith he had obtained when he transformed into Caesar. It's a pity that the education level of these beast men is still a bit low. Calling a god long live was like cursing a god. Looks like I have to teach them a lesson. Shrouded in sacred light, Yang Feng waved at the half-blood beast men with a kind smile on his face. Every time he waved his hand, the crowd of half-beast men would erupt into cheers. The 100 half-blood beast man cavalrymen following behind Yang Feng held their heads high and accepted the cheers of the crowd with proud expressions on their faces. With a sword in hand, Yang Feng pointed at the city and said loudly, "This city is a miracle created by the mighty god Ian. This is a city that belongs to us half-blood beast men. Let's call it Guando City." In the ancient divine language of the Feisua Plain, Guandu meant half-blood beast man. Guando City was actually called the Orc City. Guando City. Guando City, from today onwards, it will be the city of us half-blood beast men. With tears in their eyes, the half-blood beast men sobbed and shouted loudly. Since the birth of half-blood beast men, there was finally a city that belonged to them. Prior to this, any city on the continent regarded half-blood beast men as slaves. They had almost no foothold. This Guando City was a city that belonged to them, a place where they could gain a foothold, a place where they could live with dignity. Enter the city. Yang Feng took the lead and spurred his horse towards the city gate. Enter the city. Enter the city. The half-blood beast men wept tears of joy and shouted joyfully. Following behind Yang Feng, they entered the Guando City in an orderly manner. As soon as they entered the Guando City, the half-blood beast men sized up the city that changed their fate with greedy eyes. So many trees. Those are breadfruit trees. There's a pond there. The ground, it's so strange. The half-blood beast men sized up everything in the city with curious gazes and issued cheerful laughter. After leaving everything to Kun and Dick, Yang Feng and Catherine went to the vicinity of the lake in the Guando City. In a place like the Red Earth Wasteland, every city had to have a lake and plant a lot of extraordinary plants, rain trees, in order to maintain the water content of the city. Otherwise, the city would soon be destroyed due to a lack of water. Yang Feng silently walked on the edge of the lake. Catherine followed behind Yang Feng. The color of her pretty face changed several times, then she clenched her silver teeth and took a few steps forward, saying, "I'm sorry, Sir Caesar. In a moment of impulse, I ordered the bloody knights to be killed. Many of them were planning to surrender. But I couldn't hold back my anger." Yang Feng was silent for a while, then suddenly said with a light smile, "It's nothing. Even if you didn't kill them, I would have ordered you to take people to kill them. We don't have extra food and water to raise them." Catherine heaved a slight sigh of relief. Yang Feng said faintly, "However, I hope that the next time you make such an important decision, you'd better discuss it with me first. If I'm not here, you can deal with it yourself." Catherine's heart shook slightly, and she replied, "Yes." The 20,000 elite Bloody Lion Knights were killed by Catherine. The 20,000 elite soldiers from different tribes lost their food and water in the Red Earth Wasteland. In the end, more than 99% of the soldiers died in the cruel environment of the Red Earth Wasteland. The Frozen Rock City. A carrier pigeon flew over from afar and eventually landed in Garrix's hand. Garrix glanced at the paper on the carrier pigeon and revealed a smile. Then, the smile slowly faded, and his eyes flashed with graveness. He frowned slightly. "Well done, Caesar. You annihilated Uncle Lawrence's Bloody Lion Knights and the 20,000-strong coalition army in one fell swoop. You did an excellent job, giving me a bit of a headache." Garrix suddenly smiled and said in a low voice, "However, I'll leave this headache to Imperial Father. In any case, I'm just an idle prince. Lawrence was a Star Knight rank powerhouse. He forcibly dispelled the toxins inside him with his frightening chi and fled from the Red Earth Wasteland back to the Beastman Empire in a sorry state. Lawrence's crushing defeat couldn't be concealed, and the entire Beastman Empire was shaken. 40,000 elite troops were left in the Red Earth Wasteland. In particular, the 20,000 Bloody Lion Knights were one of the strongest legions among the Lion Men. Such an army was completely annihilated. Even though Lawrence was a prince of the Empire, he was immediately locked up and thrown into the prison. The Beastman Empire's capital, the Glory City. The Glory City's city wall was 100 meters tall, and huge statues of gods were built at intervals along the city wall. Moreover, there were exquisite murals engraved below the huge statues. The city wall stretched as far as the eye could see. The entire city covered an extremely vast area, not losing out to large cities like St. Colin City in the Turandot subcontinent. In the center of the Glory City, there was a magnificent imperial palace. The imperial palace was the Beastman Empire's Glory Imperial Court. In order to enter the Glory Imperial Court, the Lion Men and the Tiger Men, the two major Beastman races, fought endlessly. In this generation, however, the Lion Men won the honor of entering the Glory Imperial Court and wielding the imperial power of the Beastman Empire. In the center of the Glory Imperial Court, inside the Hall of Glory where the various races discussed official business. A burly middle-aged lion race expert with a pair of lion ears and a lion tail wrapped around his waist sat on a golden throne, looking down at the experts below. He had a pair of lion ears and a lion tail wrapped around his waist. He had a square face and big ears, and he wore an imperial robe. He exuded a majestic aura even without being angry. The middle-aged lion man powerhouse was Angurios I, the ruler of the Beastman Empire. The Orc Empire respected the strong. In those days, it was Angurios I who used his iron fists to defeat countless powerhouses of the Lion Men and the Tiger Men. Moreover, he made great contributions and led the Lion Men to enter the Imperial Court of Glory, becoming the real royalty of the Orc Empire. The imperial throne of the Beastman Empire wasn't hereditary. Just because Angurios became the emperor of the Beastman Empire didn't mean that his descendants could become the emperor of the Beastman Empire. Therefore, although Angurios was extremely powerful in the Beastman Empire, but he didn't reach the point where he could cover the sky with one hand. He still had to listen to the opinions of the tribal patriarchs. A burly leopard man powerhouse, with a pair of leopard ears and a leopard tail wrapped around his waist, stepped forward and said loudly, "Your Majesty, I request that you immediately send troops to clean up the half-blood Beastman bandits in the Red Earth wasteland. A single spark can start a prairie fire. The half-blood Beastman bandits must not be allowed to grow stronger. Otherwise, they will only be more difficult to deal with. I'm willing to be the vanguard and behead the traitor Caesar for your Majesty." A jackal powerhouse also stepped forward and shouted, "That's right. Your Majesty, please send troops to encircle the Red Earth wasteland. I'm willing to be the vanguard." A gold wolfman powerhouse with golden wolf fur also stepped forward and said, "Your Majesty, please send troops to encircle the Red Earth wasteland. The gold wolfman is willing to send 1,000 warriors. Your Majesty, send troops." A ferocious-looking beastman officer exuding a valiant aura got up and asked loudly. Only war could show the value of these beastman officers and let them get more spoils of war, merit, reputation, and land. Chapter 234. Angurios I slightly frowned and looked at Foxman Race's Prime Minister, Faulkner, who was standing motionless like a puppet. His gaze was like a knife that nearly pierced Faulkner's body. Seeing that he couldn't avoid it, Faulkner sighed slowly, walked to the center of the hall, and said unhurriedly, "Your Majesty, I don't think we should send troops now." The complexion of the leopard man general changed, and he barked, "Faulkner, you coward, what do you mean? Don't tell me the 40,000 warriors of the Beastman Empire died in vain." The generals of the Beastman Empire also glared at Faulkner. Although Faulkner was the Prime Minister of the Beastman Empire, but he wasn't strong. He only had a knight rank cultivation base. Therefore, in the Beastman Empire where the strong were respected, the military powerhouses looked down on Faulkner, the Foxman Prime Minister. Faulkner, the Prime Minister of the Beastman Empire, didn't have a high status and power like human prime ministers. Some powerful prime ministers could even control the court. If it wasn't for the tradition of Foxman prime ministers in the Beastman Empire and Angurios I's strong promotion, Faulkner wouldn't have been able to sit firmly in the position of prime minister. Faulkner said faintly, "Our grain harvest this year is very poor. Besides, the grain that should have been smuggled into our country has been purchased by the miracle city built by the human wizard Ian in the Red Earth wasteland. Coupled with Ahriman's loss, the frozen rock city has led to the burning of a large amount of grain. Unless we use our strategic grain reserves or have the major tribes donate some grain, we don't have enough grain to carry out a war. General Tiger, do you want our soldiers to go into the Red Earth wasteland to fight the half-blood beast men with empty stomachs? Tiger couldn't help but be taken aback. Is our grain so tight? The Beastman generals also fell silent. They were all from tribes of the Beastman Empire, large and small. This year's harvest wasn't good to begin with. If the tribes continued to contribute grain, it would undoubtedly force the old and weak of many tribes to death. Faulkner said faintly, besides, the geographical location of the Red Earth wasteland determines that it is a place that is easy to defend and difficult to attack. Once we fail, it will be an extravagant hope to come back alive. The Beastman generals also had unsightly expressions on their faces. In the Red Earth wasteland, there was a shortage of water, drought, little rain, and no food. More than 99% of the 20,000-strong tribal coalition army defeated by Yang Feng died of thirst or starvation in the Red Earth wasteland. Even the surviving orcs had gloomy and murderous expressions on their faces. No one dared to ask them how they managed to return alive. Taiga asked with some annoyance, then the 40,000 warriors of our orc empire died in vain. Faulkner replied indifferently, General Tiger, if you have a way to solve the two problems I've just raised, I'll be willing to help you. In that case, I completely agree with your opinion. We should immediately dispatch troops to exterminate those half-blood beast men. Tiger snorted coldly and said coldly, the matter of provisions is the business of you civil officials. If we were the ones to solve everything, what would we need you civil officials for? The generals of the Beastman Empire shouted, that's right, the problem of provisions is the problem of you civil officials, it should be solved by you. The Orc Empire worshipped strength, and only the strong were respected. Many generals looked down on those civil officials. Unmoved, Faulkner said indifferently, I'm sorry, but my ability is limited. This is the only thing I can do. If I don't apportion supplies like the major tribes, I really can't conjure up provisions. Taiga pestered endlessly, I don't care. However, as General Taiga said, if the half-blood beast men are allowed to grow, they will definitely pose a huge threat to our race. Angurios I was silent for a while, then suddenly said in a low voice, can't half-blood beast men be our compatriots? Faulkner's complexion changed greatly. He hurriedly lowered his voice and said anxiously, Your Majesty, you must not mention this in front of others. Half-blood beast-man slaves are one of the cornerstones of the Beastman Empire. Once you show a hint of intention, that person will never let go of this opportunity. The Beastman Empire was full of half-blood beastman slaves. Almost many families had half-blood beastman slaves. The entire Beastman class enjoyed the benefits of half-blood Beastman slaves. Even though Angurios was the emperor of the Beastman Empire and had a lofty status, but once he touched this volcanic crater, he might be overturned and blown to pieces. Angurios I was silent for a while, then nodded slightly. His eyes flickered with a bright light. There was no longer a trace of confusion, but a domineering expression, I understand. All existences that pose a threat to our race must be eradicated. Since Caesar is very mysterious, then send Thunderclaw, Tyrannical Blade, and King Kong, the three sacred warriors to the Red Earth wasteland. With three sacred warriors joining forces, even if Caesar is also a sacred warrior, he will still die. Faulkner said with a gratified smile, Your Majesty is wise. In the territory of the Beastman Empire, under a huge waterfall sat a burly man with a head full of blonde hair, a pair of lion ears, and a lion tail wrapped around his waist. Suddenly, the blonde lion man opened his eyes in an instant. With a fierce roar, countless lightning bolts revolved around him, and he punched the waterfall. Boom! Surrounded by lightning bolts, the 100-meter-tall waterfall instantly flowed in reverse. Due to the formidable force, countless splashes of water rolled back and exposed the rock walls. 5 seconds later, the reverse flow of the waterfall finally came crashing down. A wave of battle chi erupted from the golden-haired lion's body, forming a battle chi barrier. When the countercurrent waterfall smashed against the battle chi barrier, it bounced off. A Lionman powerhouse quickly arrived in front of Thunderclaw, knelt on one knee, and said respectfully, "Sir Thunderclaw, His Majesty has ordered you to go to the Red Earth Wasteland with Sir Tyrannical Blade and Sir King Kong to kill the rebel Caesar and the upper echelon of the half-blood beast men." Sacred warriors were legend rank powerhouses. In many planes, legend rank powerhouses were among the strongest powerhouses, and were practically unfettered. However, it was different on the Feisua plane. On the Feisua plane, apart from the aloof gods, even legend rank powerhouses were basically under the control of powerful empires. Of course, every powerful empire would enshrine legend rank powerhouses and give them a special status. Only at certain critical times would they be asked to take action. However, there were also some legend rank powerhouses who, for the sake of power and wealth, would become hired thugs of powerful forces. After all, even legend rank powerhouses might not be able to resist the temptation of power and wealth. Thunderclaw was one of the legend rank powerhouses enshrined in the Beastman Empire. He had a certain amount of freedom. Of course, his power naturally couldn't compare to that of the legend rank powerhouses who fully surrendered to the Beastman Empire. Thunderclaw frowned slightly and asked, "Caesar. Who is he? Why haven't I heard of him? Is he a newly born human legend rank powerhouse? What's his profession?" The guard promptly replied, "Sir Thunderclaw. Caesar shouldn't be a legend rank powerhouse. According to survivors, he should be a half-blood beastman knight between a firmament knight and a star knight. However, he might also be a wizard. He used magic items on the battlefield. Thunderclaw looked at the mechanical black dragon flying in the sky, his eyes flashed with a scorching glint, and he licked his lips excitedly. It seems that the fellow behind the half-blood beast men isn't simple, he can even command a black dragon. However, since I promoted to a sacred warrior, I haven't met an opponent for a long time. This big fellow is just right for me to hone my martial arts." As soon as the mechanical black dragon appeared on the battlefield, it didn't utter any nonsense. It dropped from the sky and pounced towards Thunderclaw. Thunderclaw gave a furious roar, erupted with chi in a flash, strengthened his physique by several times in a split second, and unleashed his self-created martial art Thunderclaw 9 strikes. Thunderclaw roared furiously, erupted with chi, strengthened his physique by several times in a flash, and unleashed his self-created martial art Thunderclaw 9 strikes. The mechanical black dragon erupted with a terrifying life force, and its muscles squirmed. The terrifying power of the Thunderclaw's 9 claws was forcefully neutralized by the Thunderclaw. Thunderclaw was dumbstruck, unable to believe his eyes. How could this be? Is a black dragon actually such a powerful existence? In that instant, the mechanical black dragon ferociously swung its huge tail at Thunderclaw with the force of a mountain. Thunderclaw couldn't avoid it. He clenched his teeth, pushed his chi to the limit, and crossed his arms in front of him. Boom! Along with a frightening explosion, Thunderclaw, like a cannonball, slammed into the ground and blasted open a big hole. Blood spurted out of his facial orifices, looking extremely miserable. Thunderclaw coughed up a big mouthful of blood and said despairingly, "So strong. An adult black dragon was actually this powerful? No wonder no one dares to slay dragons. I was a bit careless." Dragons were a powerful race at the top of the extraordinary life form food chain. Whether it was physical resistance or magic resistance, they were first-class existences. Their strength had been verified by the blood and lives of countless other races. On the Feisua plane, the dragons that were killed were either slain by demigod-rank powerhouses or besieged and killed by legend-rank squads. There were very few legend-rank powerhouses that could kill dragons one-on-one. Having succeeded in its attack, the mechanical black dragon flapped its wings, rode a gust of wind, opened its bloody maw, and bit at Thunderclaw. Stop! With a furious roar, a Tigerman Martial Saint, Ba Dao, who was missing an ear, unsheathed a long black saber, and with lightning speed, a black saber radiance shot out from the side and slashed at the mechanical black dragon. The invincible black saber beam broke through the mechanical black dragon's dragon scales and cut into its flesh. With a forceful slash, a large amount of red blood sprayed out of the mechanical black dragon's body. The mechanical black dragon was originally a mechanical creation created by Yang Feng using Shizu technology in the ancient black dragon Vedarnia's dragon crystal, dragon bones, dragon scales, dragon tendons, as well as a high-grade soul stone. However, under the effect of the mysterious and unfathomable high-grade soul stone, the mechanical black dragon underwent a change that Yang Feng found hard to understand. It unexpectedly gave birth to flesh and self-awareness, and slowly transformed into a living black dragon. Only then did it possess the blood of a living creature. A 2.5-meter-tall ape-man sacred warrior Vajra, who looked like an ancient ape-man, gave a furious roar, rushed out, erupted with chi, grabbed the tail of the mechanical black dragon, and swung hard. As if a mouse lifting a car, the mechanical black dragon was flung away in a very strange manner. Although the Morin's Empire is extremely powerful, but as long as your warriors enter the Red Earth Wasteland, they won't be able to return. After a few defeats and the deaths of more than 100,000 soldiers, the Morin's Empire will no longer have any ideas about my miracle city," said Yang Feng with a faint smile. Edith asked curiously, "More than 100,000 soldiers? Are you sure that your miracle city can withstand the offensive of the Morin's Empire?" "Why?" Yang Feng said with a smile, "With me here, unless the gods personally take action, the miracle city can't be breached." Although the gods of the Feisua Plain didn't often take action. However, there were also cases of forces that angered the gods and were destroyed by divine punishment. Yang Feng had already built the temple of the Weave Goddess in the miracle city. Under the protection of the Weave Goddess, as long as he didn't do anything that angered the gods or blasphemed against them, it was basically impossible for the gods to directly send divine punishment and destroy the miracle city. Of course, if the Morin's Empire sent an army to attack the miracle city, the Weave Goddess wouldn't intervene to save Yang Feng. Secular matters were left to the secular world and churches. This was one of the covenants of the gods signed by the gods of the Feisua Plain more than 100,000 years ago. More than 100,000 years ago, during the War of the Gods, the true bodies and avatars of the gods took action and wantonly slaughtered the believers of their enemies. Practically most of the races of the Feisua Plain were massacred. Ordinary life forms couldn't withstand a blow from the gods. Even legend rank powerhouses were just slightly more powerful cannon fodder in a war of gods. Seeing the tragic state of the Feisua Plain, the gods, who were already weakened from the fighting, reached a series of covenants, restraining the gods from taking action at will. After the gods stopped taking action, although the Feisua Plain was still in a state of war, but the population of the races recovered quickly. Because of the Treaty of the Gods, very few gods perished. This made the covenant of the gods even more secure. Yang Feng knew that the gods generally wouldn't take action in person, so he boldly established the miracle city in the Red Earth Wasteland. Edith said with a smile, "Interesting. Master Ian, I'll be looking forward to your performance. I'm just representing the Morin's Empire, so I had to make a trip here. I admire you quite a bit. After all, to be able to build such a city in the Red Earth Wasteland is indeed a miracle. If you are defeated by the Empire, you can come to the Hansen family and seek refuge with me. I can build you a magic tower and let you continue to study magic inside." The functions of the Feisua Plains magic towers and the Tsangji Plains warlock towers were very similar. Of course, in terms of power, the Tsangji Plains Warlock Towers were more powerful. On the Tsangji Plain, a starry sky warlock could even rely on a powerful warlock tower to suppress a god. On the Feisua Plain, magic towers didn't have such formidable power. Yang Feng said with a faint smile, "Thank you, but I don't think there will be such a day." At this moment, Lena came in. When she saw Edith, she was slightly taken aback. It was the first time she had seen such a handsome, almost flawless man. Lena came to Yang Feng's side and said in a low voice, "Master, an emissary of the Titan Empire has come to see you." Yang Feng raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a faint smile, "An emissary of the Titan Empire has also come? Then let him come see me." Lena retreated respectfully. "Yes, master." Not long after, a peerless beauty wearing a silver dress walked in with a smile. She had a head of dazzling golden hair, a tall figure, skin as white as jade, exquisite facial features, and a pair of beautiful eyes that seemed to be able to speak, as if she had walked out of a painting. As soon as the peerlessly beautiful girl in the silver dress walked into the room, the entire room seemed to become brighter, and all eyes were focused on her. "Edith, so you're the emissary of the Morince Empire. That's great, I really want to see you." When the peerless beauty dressed in a silver dress saw Edith, her beautiful eyes blossomed with an enigmatic light, and she threw herself into Edith's arms and smiled sweetly, without the slightest scruple about the people present. "Faldina, my sweetheart, my darling. To be able to meet you here is really the power of fate. It's fate that brought us together again. I will never let go of my hands and let you leave me again." While uttering pleasant words of love, Edith kissed the face of the peerless beauty dressed in a silver dress deeply. Yang Feng coughed lightly and said faintly, "Miss Faldina, may I ask what brought you here this time?" Faldina played it down and said carelessly, "It's nothing. It's just that the Titan Empire wants you, Ian, to hand over the Miracle City. This is the territory of the Miracle City. Since you're building a city here, it'll belong to the Titan Empire. If you hand it over, you can live. If you don't, you will die. I've told you what I want to say. Whatever decision you want to make, it's up to you." Yang Feng secretly sighed, this is the arrogance of a great state. The Titan Empire was even more overbearing than the Morince Empire. Without giving Yang Feng any benefits, it wanted to annex the Miracle City. In the end, it was still because Yang Feng was too weak and his background was too weak. Whether it was the Titan Empire or the Morince Empire, they didn't care about Yang Feng's small force. Edith put his arm around Faldina and said with a chuckle, "It seems that the Morince Empire's offer is higher. Master Ian, won't you consider it?" Yang Feng said without batting an eyelid, "Please let me think about it for a few more months." Edith slightly shook his head and smiled. "Are you trying to stall for time?" It was useless. "If you don't reply within 10 days, I'll leave. The hunting Fang Corps of the Morince Empire will enter the Red Earth Wasteland and attack your Miracle City." Yang Feng sighed slightly and said, "In this case, regrettably, it seems that the hunting Fang Corps of the Morince Empire will soon disappear from your empire." Edith said with a chuckle, "Then I'll wait and see how you make the hunting Fang Corps disappear." Soon, Bags was the only one left in the prison. Pagos said solemnly, "Ian, if I'm not willing to serve you, are you going to kill me as well?" Yang Feng replied decisively, "That's right." Pagos enunciated each syllable, "We are believers of the Weave Goddess. Aren't you afraid of the wrath of the Weave Goddess for killing us like this?" Yang Feng said with a cold smile, "This is a city belonging to the goddess. You wizards dare to attack a city under the protection of the goddess. I'm already giving you face by not tying you to the stake and burning you as heretics." The wizards trembled and felt the air turn a bit colder. Being burned to death at the stake was a punishment more cruel than beheading. Pagos was choked speechless. After a long silence, he finally gave a long sigh and said, "Fine, I'm willing to serve you. Don't resist." Yang Feng flicked his finger, and syringes filled with liquid metal nano-robot elixir flew out and stabbed the arms of the wizards. The complexions of the wizards changed slightly. But after seeing the corpses, they fell silent and let the syringes stab their arms. After the liquid metal nano-robot elixir was injected into the wizards, Yang Feng snapped his fingers, and the wizards felt pain in their bodies. They opened their mouths and spat out a black liquid, which reeked of a fishy smell. After spitting out the black liquid, the wizards immediately felt their bodies become a lot more refreshed. Yang Feng said lightly, "This elixir can dispel the toxins in your body and strengthen your physique at the same time. However, if you want to betray me, then the elixir will kill you. Let me warn you, I hope that you won't do anything stupid." When the wizards heard that, their complexions suddenly changed, and they fell silent. There were endless mysteries in magic, and many elixirs had mystical abilities. It wasn't strange for an elixir that could control others to appear. Yang Feng clapped his hands. Immediately after, Lina came in with a dozen maids, saluted Yang Feng, and said, "Master, what are your orders?" Yang Feng pointed at the nearly 100 official wizards and said lightly, "Take these honorable wizards away and make arrangements." After Lina saluted Yang Feng, she turned to the wizards and said, "Yes, master." "Sir wizards, please come with me." The wizards looked at each other, sighed helplessly, got up, and followed Lina outside. Yang Feng turned and walked towards the depths of the prison, before pushing open a door. Inside the room sat a man, a very beautiful man, Amadeo. Truly a man who is more feminine than a woman. When Yang Feng entered the room and saw Amadeo, his eyes lit up slightly, and he praised him. When Amadeo saw Yang Feng, his complexion changed slightly, and he asked, "Who are you?" Yang Feng said with a smile, "I am Ian, the master of this city." "General Amadeo, are you used to living here?" As if a woman, Amadeo growled somewhat nervously, "I'm not used to it. It's too dirty and smelly here. There are no carpets, no red wine, and no incense. I don't want to stay here for a moment. Let me go, I'll pay the ransom." "Is 1 million gold coins enough?" Yang Feng said straightforwardly, "Okay, I'll let you go. I hope that after you leave, you can send me the ransom of 1 million gold coins." Amadeo was slightly taken aback, saying, "You're letting me go just like that?" Yang Feng replied, "That's right. There are too many bandits outside. It might not be safe for you to go alone. You can choose 10 of your most trusted guards to escort you out of here. We'll prepare enough water and food for you. I'm going to command an army to attack the Red Earth City. Please detour as much as possible." Amadeo asked suspiciously, "What are you trying to do?" Yang Feng said lightly, "The Morin's empire is powerful. The Miracle City can only win and not lose. Maybe one day, Sir Amadeo, I'll need you to put in a good word for me in front of His Majesty the Emperor." Let's go fuck those damn bandits retreat route. The 20,000 warriors of the Silver Sword Corps suddenly sped up and moved towards the Anchor City. When they were halfway to the Anchor City, the Silver Sword Corps' main force saw the 2,000 cavalrymen dressed in gold and silver and carrying large and small bags on their backs. At the same time, the 2,000 cavalrymen were followed by thousands of horses, each of which carried a huge bag. The tremendous wealth pressured the 2,000 cavalrymen, who were originally moving as fast as the wind, to the point that they were even slower than infantrymen. When the Silver Sword Corps' main force saw the 2,000 cavalrymen commanded by Yang Feng, their eyes turned bloodshot and revealed greed. Magana's gaze congealed, then he pointed at Yang Feng and his party with his saber and shouted, "Brothers, those are rebels. Kill them all and their wealth will be yours. I don't want a single cent. Kill." Kill. Kill them all. Kill them all and their wealth will be ours. The morale of the warriors of the Silver Sword Corps was raised to the limit. Their eyes were bloodshot, and under the command of the high-ranking officers, they rushed towards Yang Feng's 2,000 cavalrymen. Drop the things. Yang Feng swept the warriors of the Silver Sword Corps with a glance, sneered, and ordered. The 2,000 cavalrymen tore off the bags and threw them on the ground. Countless gold, silver, and jewelry scattered on the ground from the bags, dazzling everyone. When the 2,000 cavalrymen pulled the ropes, the gold, silver, and jewelry tied to the horses also scattered on the ground, making the area look as if it was covered in gold, silver, and jewelry. Retreat. After discarding all the treasures, Yang Feng smiled coldly, turned around, and retreated towards the anchor city with the 2,000 cavalrymen. Mine. These treasures are mine. Fuck, I'll kill anyone who dares to rob me of my gold. When the warriors of the Silver Sword Corps rushed to the area full of gold, silver, and jewelry, they no longer moved. Instead, they scrambled for the jewelry, their eyes bloodshot. For the sake of the jewelry, many warriors even drew their swords. The monthly salary of the warriors of the Morin's Empire was only 1 gold coin. Many of the gems on the ground could be sold for hundreds of gold coins, or even 1,000 gold coins. As long as they grabbed a gem, it was equivalent to decades or even 100 years of their salary. Naturally, it made them crazy. In particular, Morgana had promised that the wealth would belong to whoever grabbed it, which made the situation even more chaotic. No one had the will to fight, only thinking about grabbing the gold, silver, and jewelry. Even many high-ranking officers of the Silver Sword Corps joined in the scramble for the gold, silver, and jewelry. Morgana shouted anxiously, "Get up, all of you! Stop grabbing! Stop grabbing! It's very dangerous now. The cavalry of the Miracle City may be waiting for us to fall into chaos." Apart from Morgana's personal guards, no one listened to him. Everyone's attention was attracted by the gold, silver, and jewelry, and they scrambled endlessly. "It's time! Charge with me!" When Yang Feng saw the chaotic scene through the magic eyes, he sneered and urged his horse to charge towards the Silver Sword Corps. If Yang Feng's 2,000 cavalrymen killed their way into the Zero province and turned it upside down, then his position as governor would come to an end. The Anchor City. Standing atop the Anchor City's city wall, Yang Feng gazed at the depths of the Morin's Empire's hinterland and gave a long sigh. "Unfortunately, I have too few troops. Otherwise, I would have already captured the Melinsan province." Yang Feng had the 2,000 cavalrymen carefully trained by Clive break through 10 cities within 13 days, and then set up an ambush to defeat the Silver Sword's main force. After days of fierce fighting, the 2,000 cavalrymen were exhausted, and Yang Feng had no choice but to stop advancing. After all, humans weren't like robots, who could fight 24/7. If Yang Feng commanded the Shizu robot army, he would have seized the opportunity when the hunting Fang Corps was wiped out to capture the entire Melinsan province. As for the 10,000 slave warriors behind Yang Feng, their fighting strength wasn't even as good as that of the Melinsan province's local guards. Driving them to the battlefield would just be sending them to their deaths in vain. In such a large-scale war, the weakness of the Miracle City's shallow foundation was exposed. Even if the Morin's Empire was defeated a dozen times, its vitality wouldn't be affected. As long as Yang Feng was defeated once, the entire Miracle City would be easily swallowed up. This was the absolute gap in the strength of both sides. Amazing, Master Ian. You're really amazing. To have defeated the Hunting Fang Corps and the Silver Sword Corps in succession, you're really an outstanding talent. Along with a chuckle, Edith slowly walked out from a corner of the Anchor City's city wall. Smiling like a flower, Faldina followed beside Edith. Every step she took was in sync with Edith's, as if she was his shadow. 3 burly warriors exuding frightening auras and armed with rapiers flanked Yang Feng, cutting off his path of retreat. Behind the 3 warriors stood 2 great wizards, who stared at Yang Feng with ice-cold expressions. Yang Feng frowned slightly and said solemnly, "How did you get in?" Yang Feng had been very cautious all his life. He had also set up many micromonitoring devices in the anchor city, with no blind spots. He didn't understand how Edith and them could sneak up to him. Edith said with a smile, "Master Ian, your magic ability is really strong. However, you're not the only wizard in the world. My dearest sweetheart, Faldina, is also a genius archwizard. There's no problem in deceiving the perception of a great wizard like you." Yang Feng frowned slightly, saying, "Miss Faldina, I heard that the Titan Empire and the Morince Empire are enemies. Why did you join forces with Edith to ambush me? Isn't the more damage I cause to the Morince Empire, the better it is for the Titan Empire? What you said makes sense." Faldina blinked her big beautiful eyes, and then said with a light smile, "But I love Edith." The huge temple released formidable fluctuations of power at all times, shrouding and guarding the entire Bar Roman city. This huge temple was the Sun Temple of the Bar Roman city. When Yang Feng arrived in front of the Sun Temple, he operated a secret method and looked at the temple. He saw a layer of extremely rich faith power shrouding the Sun Temple and exuding formidable fluctuations of power. On the Fesua plain, basically every city had a temple. However, the size of the temples varied, and the power they possessed varied as well. Along the way, Yang Feng didn't encounter any decent resistance because the clergymen of the temples in the cities didn't put up any resistance. Of course, in exchange, Yang Feng didn't touch any of the clergymen in the cities. On the Fesua plain, every clergyman was a servant of a god. If it wasn't necessary, Yang Feng wouldn't lightly touch the clergyman. A middle-aged bishop dressed in a bishop's robe with an arrogant expression walked out of the Sun Temple. Behind the middle-aged bishop were a dozen or so beautiful nuns dressed in nun robes. The middle-aged bishop looked condescendingly at Yang Feng and asked coldly, "Are you Ian?" Yang Feng frowned slightly, and then said indifferently, "I am Ian." Act said arrogantly and contemptuously, "I am the bishop of the Sun Temple, Act. The Bar Roman city belongs to the mighty sun god Dragoni, it's not a city that you barbarians can desecrate. Get out. You're not welcome here." Yang Feng smiled faintly, his eyes flashed with a cold glint, and he took a step forward and punched Act in the face. A few of Act's teeth were knocked out, his face was covered in blood, and he was sent flying several meters away. When he fell to the ground, he twitched and fainted. As a bishop rank expert, the might of Act's offensive divine spells was comparable to that of level 2 warlocks. However, his fleshly body was also extremely frail, unable to withstand a single blow. "What are you doing? Barbarian! Do you want to blaspheme the mighty sun god Dragoni?" The complexions of the dozen nuns following behind Act changed dramatically, and they issued shrill screams. The Sun Temple had always been aloof in the Bar Roman city. Even the governor of the Melinson province had to be polite when he saw the nuns, not daring to act recklessly. Now, a bishop-rank bigwig was punched to the ground by Yang Feng like a dead dog, which was simply unimaginable. Yang Feng swept the dozen chattering nuns with a glance. His gaze turned cold, he unsheathed the sword at his waist, and barked coldly, "Shut up, all of you. Now, I am the master of the Bar Roman city. I can decide your fate with a word. I can let you live, but I can also let you die. I can let you go to heaven, but I can also let you taste the pain of hell. The more than 30 guards next to Yang Feng unsheathed the swords at their waist and pointed at the dozen nuns. So long as Yang Feng gave the order, they would rush into the Sun Temple and kill all the nuns. The pretty complexions of the dozen beautiful nuns changed, they felt a chill in their hearts, and their delicate bodies trembled. Chapter 246. Master Ian, they're just a bunch of ignorant girls. Why lower yourself to the level of these girls? A gentle and magnetic voice slowly came from the shrine. A handsome man in the uniform of the Archbishop of the Sun Shrine slowly walked out of the shrine. He was enveloped in a layer of holy light, giving people a good impression. He was about 31 or 32 years old and wore the clothes of the Archbishop of the Sun Shrine. Behind the young man were 5 bishops of the Sun Temple. All the light was overshadowed by the young man's light. Yang Feng praised in his heart, "What an outstanding quack, he can compete with me." As a most outstanding and professional quack, he must be shrouded in sacred light at all times, giving people a favorable impression of him and giving people a sense of worship, awe, and awe. In this way, it would be more convenient to preach. When necessary, Yang Feng would never be stingy with his spirit force and cast a holy radiance spell on himself. This would make him look more amiable and sacred. In many churches, one of the important criteria for selecting priests and nuns was to have good facial features and outstanding looks. The more handsome and beautiful a person was, the easier it was for them to be promoted in the church. In fact, in terms of appearance alone, the young man was more than a notch better than Yang Feng. After all, the young man was a professional quack. When the beautiful nuns saw the man shrouded in holy light, their eyes flashed with admiration. They bowed to him respectfully and said, "Archbishop Esteban." The 5 bishops following behind Esteban glanced at Bishop Act lying on the ground, and then focused their gazes on Yang Feng, and their eyes flashed with anger. Esteban said with a gentle smile, "Master Ian, my subordinates were a bit rude, please forgive them." Yang Feng smiled faintly. He didn't expose the fact that Esteban was hiding not far from the temple when Bishop Act came out. Yang Feng said calmly, "Although I am a believer of the great Weave Goddess. However, I maintain humility and respect for the great gods of the Zalia divine system." This act went so far as to sow discord between the great Weave Goddess and the great Sun God. I guess that he should be a heretic who infiltrated the Sun Temple in an attempt to sow discord between the 2 temples. He should be burned at the stake. When he said this, the complexions of the dozen beautiful nuns and the 5 bishops changed dramatically. Heresy was one of the biggest crimes in the churches of the Faisua Plain. Once someone was convicted of heresy, what awaited them would be the cruelest punishment and burning at the stake. The people of the Sun Temple didn't expect Yang Feng to be so ruthless as to directly accuse Act of heresy. Once this crime was carried out, Act's soul would not be able to return to the divine country of the sun god Dragoni after his death. Instead, he would fall into the netherworld or the abyss. Esteban's heart trembled slightly, but he still maintained a kind smile on his face as he said, "Act is a bit impatient and usually makes some small mistakes. However, I can guarantee that he is not a heretic. If he offended you in any way, I apologize on his behalf." Yang Feng said coldly with an expressionless face, "Sir Esteban, I have 2,000 cavalrymen, 5,000 warriors, and a wizard squad under my command. So long as I give the order, the Sun Temple in the Bar Roman city will cease to exist. Do you really want to make an enemy of me for a trifling act? If anything happens to the Sun Temple in the Bar Roman city, then I'm afraid that none of you here will be able to return to the divine country of the great Sun God after your death." The complexions of the people of the Sun Temple suddenly changed dramatically and their eyes flashed with panic. The Faisua Plain was a world with gods. Chapter 247. Riding the magic carpet, Yang Feng's group of two smoothly circled to in front of Busso's 2,000 cavalrymen. I am Archbishop Esteban of the Sun Temple. Tell Governor Busso to come see me. Esteban jumped off the magic carpet, landed on the ground, and blocked in front of Busso's troops. A dazzling sun slowly rose behind him, radiating endless light, indicating his identity as the Archbishop of the Sun Temple. When the 2,000 cavalrymen saw the sun and heard Esteban's words, their hearts shook, and they spurred their horses to a halt. On the Fesua plain, the people that couldn't be provoked the most were churches. Once they were judged to be heretics by the church, their entire family would be burned at the stake. Even aristocrats, once judged to be heretics, would be burned to death and have their titles confiscated. Their entire family would be implicated. Moreover, this was a world with gods. Gods held high in their star-divine countries, and from time to time, they would descend miracles in the secular world. Everyone knew of the existence of gods, and they were full of reverence for the churches that worshipped gods. Greetings, Archbishop. A dozen high-ranking officers escorted Busso out. After seeing Esteban, they bowed slightly in salute and said respectfully. Esteban was recognized as a genius of the Sun Temple, a powerhouse most likely to promote to a legend-rank archbishop. The high-ranking officers naturally didn't dare to slight him. When Busso came out, he saw the magic carpet behind Esteban. His eyes lit up, and he asked full of expectation, Esteban, are you here to take me with you? On the Fesua plain, there were no secret treasures refined by the Tsangji Plain's human warlocks. However, there were still some magic items circulating in the world. As a greater aristocrat, Busso wasn't surprised by magic items such as magic carpets. He had a few life-saving magic items, but he didn't have a high-grade flight secret treasure such as a magic carpet. Esteban swept Busso with a dignified glance and said in an indisputable tone, I brought someone who wants to have a good talk with you. Let's go over there and have a good talk. Yes. Awed by Esteban's imposing manner, Busso obediently followed Esteban and Busso away from the 2,000 cavalrymen. Yang Feng silently recited an incantation, pointed at the surroundings, a magic radiance flickered, and a silence spell was cast, shrouding the three people. Esteban said lightly, this person who wants to see you is Master Ian of the Miracle City. Greetings, Master Ian. A friend of Archbishop Esteban is also a friend of mine. No, Master Ian, you are Demon Ian. Busso spoke straightforwardly at first. Suddenly, he reacted, and his face changed dramatically. He took a few steps back and looked at Yang Feng with fear in his eyes. Yang Feng pulled away the black cloth covering his face, revealed his true face, and said with a smile to Busso, that's right, I am Master Ian, the fiend Ian you speak of. Master Ian, please spare my life. I beg you, spare my life. I'll give you a lot of money. I'll give you a lot of ransom. Spare my life. I don't want to die yet. Busso knelt on the ground and cried loudly. Snot and tears flowed down his face as he begged bitterly. This guy is really of the highest quality. Yang Feng found it funny, but he strengthened his resolve. Yang Feng said with a smile, Governor Busso, I didn't come here to kill you. Instead, I came here to give you a great credit. Under the leadership of Governor Busso, the army of the Miracle City suffered successive defeats and eventually retreated back to the Miracle City. What do you think of this credit? You didn't come here to kill me. Busso was taken aback. He wiped the snot and tears off his face, got up, and his eyes lit up, saying, You want to fake a war and lose to me on purpose? What do you want in return? Yang Feng was slightly surprised. He thought that Busso was a good-for-nothing, but he didn't expect Busso to react so quickly and grasp the crux of the matter. Yang Feng said lightly, Governor Busso, with such a great credit, can you keep the position of governor of the Malinsan province in peace? Busso's eyes lit up and he said with a beaming smile, if it was someone else, even if they made such a great contribution, they would still be demoted to a commoner. However, with the strength of our family, I can atone for my crimes by making such a great contribution and firmly sit on the position of governor of the Malinsan province. It was easy to be an official in the court. In the Morin's Empire, the Busso family had great power. His younger sister, the southern royal consort Katerina, was one of the 4 consorts favored by the emperor of the Morin's Empire. If he suffered a crushing defeat, Katerina wouldn't be able to protect him. However, once he staged a stunning counterattack, he would be able to clear his name and make a great contribution. Yang Feng said lightly, I want to scrape 200 million gold coins from the Bar-Roman city. Busso was taken aback. He pondered for a while before saying, 200 million gold coins is too much. How about 100 million gold coins? I know that most of the assets of the greater aristocrats of the Bar-Roman city are real estate. Their liquid funds are quite small, so it's very difficult to take out 100 million gold coins. However, if antiques, gems, and the like are included, then you can get 200 million gold coins. Yang Feng suddenly said, what kind of title can I get from the Morin's Empire if I request to be attached to it? Busso's eyes lit up and he said enthusiastically, good. 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 Master Ian, please leave this matter to me. I'll help you get it done properly. Don't worry, a hereditary peer title of Earl is out of the question. As long as you leave this matter to me, we'll be best friends. The Morin's Empire sent troops to attack the Miracle City, but suffered a crushing defeat. The entire Morin's Empire lost a lot of face. At this time, Busso came forward and summoned the Miracle City to surrender, expanding the territory of the Morin's Empire. The Morin's Empire also gained a lot of face. Busso definitely made a great contribution that gave him a lot of political capital and laid a solid foundation for climbing to a higher position. Yang Feng said, however, I don't want others to interfere with the operation of the Miracle City. What should I do? He could surrender to the Morin's Empire in name, but Yang Feng didn't want the Miracle City he built to be annexed. Busso laughed and said carelessly, haha, that's easy. There are so many bandits in the Red Earth Wasteland. It's very common for officials to accidentally die at the hands of bandits. Everyone does it. As long as you do it cleanly, no one will find out about it. Chapter 248. About 10 kilometers away from the magnificent temple complex, there was an exquisite and luxurious imperial palace with a 50-meter-tall city wall. Inside the imperial palace, there were countless blessings of the gods and all kinds of powerful perpetual divine spells. In the imperial palace, poisons, spells, and other control methods could easily be purified by the perpetual spells left by the gods. In the history of the Morin's Empire, none of the successive emperors had been poisoned to death or had their minds controlled by powerful wizards. In some of the smaller duchies, there would be news from time to time that some of the smaller duchies' kings were controlled by powerful mages or dark creatures. The imperial palace, in the reception hall. An elderly man with a crown on his head and a set of royal robes sat on the throne. He had a burly figure and was quite handsome, but his eyes were slightly swollen. He gave off a dignified aura, but at the same time, he gave off an aura of decay. The old man was the emperor of the Morin's Empire, Morin's 2867th. The Morin's Empire was a human empire born after the War of the Gods. Under the protection of the Zalia divine system, the ancient and huge empire declined, sank, and experienced countless rebellions, upheavals, coups, and divisions. Even so, it was still passed down from ancient times. As long as the gods of the Zalia divine system didn't abandon the Morin's Empire, and as long as the gods of the Zalia divine system weren't defeated or suppressed by other powerful beings, the Morin's Empire wouldn't be completely destroyed. This was the difference between a state protected by a god and a state without one. Before the gods of the Zalia divine system were suppressed, any force that threatened the survival of the Morin's Empire would eventually be destroyed by the gods. Yang Feng wisely quit while he was ahead and returned to the Miracle City with his troops. An official walked to the center of the reception hall and said loudly, "Your Majesty, Governor Busso of the Malinsan province has a report of success." Morin's 2:867th's spirit shook slightly, and he said in a slightly aged voice, "Read it." The official read slowly, "Yes. I, Busso, led 2,000 cavalrymen, caught up with the main force of Master Ian of the Miracle City in the Red Earth City. I fought desperately and suffered 18 sword wounds. In the end, I beheaded over 7,000 people and defeated Master Ian's main force. I recaptured the Red Earth City in one fell swoop. Recover the entire Malinsan province." In the assembly hall, the eyes of the ministers standing on both sides of the Morin's Empire flickered with strange looks. The well-informed ministers of the Morin's Empire had long since learned through their intelligence network that Busso had fled before Yang Feng's main force arrived at the Bar Roman city, leaving behind an intact Bar Roman city for Yang Feng to loot. Immediately after, as if with the help of the gods, Busso defeated Yang Feng's forces again and again. This was the 44th time he reported victory. According to the statistics in Busso's report, he had already killed more than 200,000 people from Miracle City. Morin's 2867th said with a faint smile, "In the face of adversity, Busso still doesn't give up." In the end, with 2,000 cavalrymen, he mounted a sneak attack on Ian's main force and inflicted heavy damage on him. He's really a pillar of the Morin's Empire. As His Majesty said, Governor Busso is really an example for us to learn from. Governor Busso didn't panic in the face of danger. He took the initiative to abandon the Bar Roman city to win Ian's heart, and then took the opportunity to mount a sneak attack on the Bar Roman city and defeat the Devil Ian's main force. Furthermore, he defeated the Devil Ian 44 times in a row. His military ability is simply unpredictable. He's really a pillar of the Morin's Empire. His Majesty should reward him handsomely. After capturing the Miracle City, I'll reward you with 100 million gold coins from the wealth of the Miracle City. On the Faisua plain, there was an ancient feudal system. Within their fiefs, greater aristocrats had various privileges such as collecting taxes and enacting laws. It was almost equivalent to a state within a state. However, every year, aristocrats had to pay a portion of gold coins or materials to the empire according to the size of their fiefs and the richness of their fiefs to show their submission to the empire. If the aristocrats failed to pay the specified amount of gold coins and materials to the empire, then the empire had the right to take back the fiefs granted to the aristocrats. Morin's 2867th said somewhat impatiently, "What's the matter? Spit it out." When Duke Iser saw the peerlessly beautiful girl, his complexion changed dramatically, and he stared at the smiling Fabio with resentment and anger in his eyes. "Your Majesty is wise." The Morin's Empire was huge. For this huge empire, 40 million gold coins was nothing. However, most of the taxes collected by the huge empire had to be paid for the huge civil service system as well as the expenditure of millions of troops. Coupled with the fact that Emperor Morin's had always been extravagant, it was very difficult to mobilize 40 million gold coins in a hurry. In the court, all the voices disappeared and everyone quieted down. Although Busso was timid and had almost no ability to command troops, but he had a good political sense and mind. He was one of the highest-ranking members of the younger generation of the Orthodox family. Iser said coldly, "The Hansen family is His Majesty's most loyal subject. The Hansen family is absolutely duty-bound to share His Majesty's burdens. But when an army goes to war, provisions come first. Without enough money and provisions, how can a war be supported? Fabio, your family's Governor Busso has submitted 44 reports of victory in a row. In the reports, the number of people beheaded has exceeded 200,000. I heard that the total population of the Miracle City is no more than 50,000. Where did the 200,000 enemies come from?" When Duke Iser heard that, his complexion suddenly changed dramatically. The Hansen family had 20,000 elite private troops, which were the lifeblood of the Hansen family and the foundation for Duke Iser to run amok in the Moritz Empire. Once the 20,000 elite private troops were wiped out, the Hansen family would fall from a top aristocratic family to an ordinary aristocratic family, and its strength would decline greatly. For Moritz 2867th, 200,000 gold coins was not a small amount. After all, the Red Earth wasteland had always been a desolate place with no special products. With a sharp gaze, Moritz 2867th stared at Iser. Suddenly, he smiled and said casually, "Iser, what do you think?" The official replied calmly, "Your Majesty, this girl is called Faldina, a personal disciple of the Titan Empire's legend wizard Arvida. Reportedly, she has the bloodline of the Titan goddess of charm and is a legendary divine descendant. According to the information I received, she has a close relationship with Edith, the son of Duke Iser. I suspect that Edith may have sold out a lot of intelligence on the Moritz Empire for this girl, and that he has very likely betrayed the Moritz Empire." Feeling that the Hansen family was about to face a calamity, Iser suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He knelt on the ground and said respectfully, "Your Majesty. The Hansen family is loyal to Your Majesty, to the Empire, and will never have any disloyal thoughts. After this old official returns to the family, I will immediately use all the power of the family to capture this girl and present her to Your Majesty for interrogation." The officials of the two factions, the Orthox family and the Hansen family, stepped forward and accused each other. Fabio said coldly, "Duke Iser, the Hansen family can wage a war to exterminate a principality just for the sake of you, yet you are unwilling to serve His Majesty. You have ulterior motives." On the Fesua plain, unless it was a war between states, emperors generally had no right to order a greater aristocrat to use their private troops to fight for them. Moritz 2867th felt annoyed and said coldly. Fabio said coldly, "Duke Iser, don't you want to serve His Majesty the Great Emperor?" An official of the Orthox family stepped forward and barked, "Duke Iser, your family's 20,000 private troops clearly didn't suffer much damage, so why aren't you willing to serve His Majesty? Does the Hansen family want to keep its troops for itself?" Although Moritz 2867th was extremely muddle-headed, but he was still the emperor of the Moritz Empire and had great power. Offending Moritz 2867th was undoubtedly the stupidest decision. Once Moritz 2867th bore a grudge against them, the entire Hansen family would be in danger of being destroyed. Just as Moritz 2867th's words fell, a chorus of voices came from below. Most importantly, Yang Feng had already withdrawn to the Red Earth wasteland and was no longer a threat to the Moritz Empire. Duke Iser wanted to say something, but then hesitated. Finally, he looked at Fabio, who was watching him coldly, gave a long sigh, and fell silent. He had slightly offended Moritz 2867th by using delaying tactics. If he continued to annoy Moritz 2867th, the situation of the Hansen family would become dangerous. Fabio turned his blade and mercilessly stabbed Iser. "Your Majesty, I have a good proposal. The private troops of the Iser family are extremely powerful. Not long ago, Duke Iser used his private troops to destroy the Amon Principality. It would be better to let Duke Iser dispatch his private troops to serve His Majesty and capture the Miracle City in one fell swoop. Since Duke Iser is His Majesty's most loyal subject, surely you won't refuse this proposal." "Shut up," Fabio said confidently. The population of the Miracle City was indeed only 50,000. However, after he attacked the Malinsan province, he captured slaves on a large scale and filled his army with them. That's why his army swelled up. Every time Governor Busso defeated the Demon Ian would replenish his army, which was why he annihilated 200,000 enemies. Inside the gate of the Saint Toulon city, even if non-believers entered, they would be discovered in an instant, and then burned to death at the stake. On the Faisua plain, non-believers were unwelcome and regarded as heretics in any country of the human world. They were like stray dogs, unable to be active in the central area of human power. Yang Feng's spirit was taut, his gaze fixed on Alarina, and he was ready to fight. Alarina had a naive look on her face as if she hadn't sensed anything. She allowed the divine light to shine on her body, but it didn't trigger any reaction. Yang Feng's eyebrows creased slightly, and his eyes flashed with a glint of doubt. Did I guess wrong? Was I really lucky to meet such a beautiful girl? A girl of Alarina's level could already be called an absolute beauty. On the Faisua plain, once such a beautiful girl was discovered by an aristocrat in a territory, she would either be pocketed by the aristocrat, offered as a gift to a greater aristocrat, or sold to a slave merchant for a big profit. After entering the Saint Toulon city, Yang Feng silently recited an incantation and pointed at Alarina, and a single target evil detection spell fell on Alarina. Strands of pure white light radiated from Alarina's body, showing that this young lady was a pure person who had never betrayed her conscience and killed any intelligent beings. Yang Feng smiled self-deprecatingly. It seems that I was being paranoid. Shortly after entering the city gate, a handsome young aristocrat with short blonde hair, surrounded by a dozen guards, blocked in front of Yang Feng and company. The young aristocrat blocked in front of Yang Feng and company and said with an arrogant expression, "Ian, Busso, get out here." Yang Feng frowned slightly and slowly alighted from his carriage. Busso also alighted from his carriage. When he saw the young aristocrat, his complexion couldn't help but change. Yang Feng asked, "Who is this guy?" Busso immediately whispered to Yang Feng, "He is Bel, the eldest son of His Highness the Great Prince Andrew." Bel smiled coldly and ordered, "Sure enough, Busso, you colluded with the fiend Ian to harm the interests of the empire. Men, capture the fiend Ian." "Yes, Your Highness." The dozen knight-rank guards laughed fiendishly, burst out with tyrannical chi, and rushed at Yang Feng. "You're courting death. Don't interfere." Yang Feng's eyes flashed with killing intent. With a flick of his wrist, a king's sword forged from divine blood steel suddenly appeared in his hand. He took a step forward, erupted with firmament knight-rank chi in a flash, and sword rays shone like stars. A mist of blood burst out beside Yang Feng and splashed in all directions. Chapter 254. When he saw this, Busso's heart trembled, and his eyes shimmered with fear. What a scary guy. That's the fiend Ian for you. Ever since Busso and Yang Feng reached a settlement, the relationship between the two parties quickly became closer. Busso's fear of Yang Feng slowly faded. Now that he saw the blood mist and pieces of corpses exploding around Yang Feng, fear welled up inside him, and he finally understood the terrifying meaning of the name Fiend Ian. Andrew's eyes flashed with fanaticism and excitement. "This is our Lord, perfect, powerful, callous, and benevolent. How wonderful." There was a flash of excitement in the eyes of the warriors who followed Yang Feng on expeditions. To them, only such a powerful monarch was worthy of following. As if a god of death walking in the secular world, Yang Feng walked up to in front of Bel, looked coldly at Bel, and unleashed the divine energy of fear in a flash. As if on the verge of life and death, as if one wrong word, one would be burned at the stake, a great fear enveloped Bel. Bel's face was pale, his eyes filled with fear, his body trembled, his mouth was dry, and he didn't dare to move his eyes away from Yang Feng. "Your Highness, these rebels tried to assassinate you. I'll help you kill them all." Yang Feng looked at Bel with an aloof tone and barked, "Your Highness, are you satisfied?" Face pale, Bel took 3 steps back and said tremblingly, "Satisfied. Satisfied. Satisfied." Overbearing, divine energy of fear permeated his body. Yang Feng took a step forward and said threateningly, "I killed these people, are you satisfied?" "Yes." Still not satisfied. Belle said tremblingly, "Well done. Well done." Yang Feng smiled contemptuously and waved his hand, saying, "Okay, you can go now." "Yes. Yes." With a look of fear on his face, Belle mounted his horse and frantically fled into the distance. Busso said with a look of worship, "Ian, you're really amazing." Belle was an idiot who didn't even understand the rules of the aristocratic game. It was really difficult to deal with him. You scared him away with just one sentence. "You're really amazing." Ordinary princes still basically followed the rules of the game, and at least on the surface, they were very respectful to the greater nobles. As for Belle, he directly shed all pretense of cordiality with Yang Feng, which in the eyes of aristocrats was the most foolish behavior. However, Belle was of noble status. Busso did not have a good way to deal with him in a short time. Sirens came from afar, and the police of the St. Toulon city's Imperial Garrison Hall were finally dispatched. Dozens of police who had been lurking nearby quickly rushed over. As soon as the policemen arrived at the scene, they saw more than a dozen corpses on the ground. Many of the policemen turned pale and their bodies trembled. An inspector hesitated for a moment, then took more than a dozen policemen to block in front of Yang Feng and his party, before saying with a gloomy expression, "I am the Garrison Hall's level 1 Inspector Bessio. I suspect that you are related to this vicious murder case. Please come with me to the police station." Busso smiled coldly, then pulled out a whip and mercilessly lashed it at Bessio's face, leaving a deep whip mark. Busso hugged his face in pain, curled up, and howled in pain. Busso said condescendingly and contemptuously, "I am the governor of the Malinsan province, a baron of the Busso Empire. This is the Earl of the Red Earth Wasteland, Earl Ian. We just killed these assassins who tried to assassinate His Highness Belle. This is justice, this is self-defense, understand? You lowlifes." The policemen suddenly turned pale and trembled, realizing that they might have been involved in a struggle between bigwigs. The struggle between bigwigs of the Morince Empire was extremely cruel, so it was normal for the aftermath to kill some nobodies. As if a curious baby, Florence asked, "I have been to the Red Earth Wasteland once. The climate there is dry, there is no water, and there is a lack of food. Ian, how did you build a city there?" Yang Feng replied with a faint smile, "Under the guidance of the mighty Weave Goddess, in order to spread the glory of the goddess, the miracle city was united and created a miracle. Only then did we finally build the miracle city." Florence was met with a soft rebuff, and a strange look flashed past her beautiful eyes. There had never been a man who dared to speak to her like this after witnessing her beautiful dance. In the past, as long as she slightly opened her mouth to ask, those men would automatically boast about their achievements and tell her everything, displaying their greatness. Garca interrupted with a smile, "Florence, you don't have to ask any more questions. Everyone has their own secrets, don't you?" Florence revealed an angry expression, looking very lovable. "If you don't want to ask, then don't ask. Anyway, I don't really want to know." Yelena suddenly asked with a smile, "Ian, I heard that you are an alchemist and have refined the magic sword Warrior's Edge. Do you still have the Warrior's Edge?" If someone else asked me, I would definitely say no. But since the beautiful Miss Yelena asked me, then even if I don't have it, I still have it. Yang Feng smiled and flipped his hand, and a Warrior's Edge magic sword suddenly appeared in his hand. Bright magic radiance revolved around the Warrior's Edge, making it look full of mystery and power. When Jiran saw the Warrior's Edge, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he could hardly move his eyes away, as if he had seen a peerless beauty. Yang Feng smiled and handed the Warrior's Edge to Yelena. Yelena looked at the warrior's edge, her beautiful eyes flashed with a peculiar glint, and she drew a dagger and slashed at the warrior's edge. Ding! Along with a crisp sound, the dagger made of fine steel broke into two pieces. So this is the warrior's edge, it's really a good sword. Yelena toyed with the warrior's edge fondly. Her beautiful eyes flickered with a peculiar glint, and she said unhurriedly, "The Gale's sacred swordsman Domitio defeated the Gale's sacred swordsman Favila by relying on the warrior's edge. Master Ian, the warrior's edge you refined is now a treasure sword that countless martial artists in the St. Toulon city desire the most." Yang Feng said with a smile, "Princess Yelena, since you like it, then I'll give it to you." The most precious part of the warrior's edge series of magic swords was the divine blood steel mixed into the sword. Yang Feng had a lot of divine blood steel. If it wasn't for the fear of arousing suspicion and lowering the price, everyone in the Miracle City would have a warrior's edge. "Give it to me." Yelena stared at Yang Feng with her beautiful eyes, and then suddenly said with a smile, "Ian, this warrior's edge is hard to come by in the St. Toulon city, and its price has already exceeded 3 million gold coins." Chapter 259. In the following days, Yang Feng went to different banquets. Garca held one banquet after another and introduced Yang Feng to his supporters. When the small and medium-sized aristocrats saw Yang Feng, a hereditary peer aristocrat with great power, join their camp, their confidence in Garca's victory became a bit firmer. At the same time, the aristocrats kept fawning over Yang Feng. In less than 3 days, he received more than a dozen beautiful women, which he accepted one by one without any trace of politeness. On the 4th day, Yang Feng received a decree from Morin's 2867 summoning him. The Victory Palace. This is the Victory Palace. Standing in front of the palace, Yang Feng looked at the exquisite, luxurious, and 50-meter tall palace wall, and his eyes flickered with an enigmatic light. The imperial palace of the Morin's Empire was called the Victory Palace, implying invincibility. After the construction of the Victory Palace, the first emperor of the Morin's Empire asked the gods for their blessings. Thanks to the blessings of the gods, the Victory Palace obtained countless permanent divine spells. As long as the gods didn't die, the divine spells wouldn't disappear. Thanks to the blessings of the gods, even feeble divine force rank gods couldn't smash the city wall of the Victory Palace. Even many demigods couldn't fly in the sky above the Victory Palace. Throughout history, such a sturdy imperial palace had been the site of countless bloodshed. Numerous court coups took place in front of the imperial palace, and more than 500 emperors of the Morin's Empire died in the coups. After pausing for a moment to take a look, Yang Feng followed the attendant and continued to walk towards the imperial palace. As soon as Yang Feng stepped into the gate of the imperial palace, powerful divine spells were cast from the gate and enveloped him. The robots of blasphemy above Yang Feng's head quickly simulated the spirit fluctuations of the fanatics of the Weave Goddess. Once non-believers were discovered in the St. Toulon city, they would be burned at the stake. The divine spell examination of the Victory Palace was much more powerful than that of the gate. However, it was still deceived by the spirit fluctuations of the fanatics of the Weave Goddess. The attendant leading Yang Feng quietly looked at Yang Feng for a while. After finding that there were no other changes to Yang Feng under the divine spell examination, he continued to lead Yang Feng into the imperial palace. Inside the hall, Morin's 2867 sat on the throne high above and looked down. His aged and turbid eyes flickered with indifference. An official said, Your Majesty, the Red Earth Earl Ian has arrived. Morant's 2867th said indifferently, let him in. Yang Feng slowly stepped into the hall. As soon as he entered the meeting hall, Yang Feng felt a powerful pressure coming from the gold throne, as if the person sitting on the gold throne is the ruler of the world, and no one is allowed to defy him. Within this meeting hall, one of the blessings of the gods was the pressure of an emperor. As soon as one entered the great hall, one would be affected by the pressure of the emperor and would unconsciously be in awe of the man sitting on the throne. Some people who were not mentally strong would feel the pressure in their hearts when they felt the monarch's pressure, and they would not even be able to speak properly. Your humble servant, Ian, Earl of Red Earth of Miracle City, greets your Majesty. Yang Feng stepped forward, knelt on one knee, and saluted Morant's 2867th. When aristocrats of the Morant's Empire had an audience with the emperor, the highest form of etiquette was to kneel on one knee. Normally, when aristocrats saw the emperor, they would just bow slightly in salute. However, this was the first time Yang Feng came to have an audience with Morant's 2867th, so he had to kneel on one knee. Morant's 2867th looked at Yang Feng curiously and said faintly, "Get up." Yang Feng got up and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Morant's 2867th suddenly said, "Ian, I heard that you robbed hundreds of millions of gold coins from the Melinson province. Is this true?" Gazes of schadenfreude focused on Yang Feng. The officials of Garca's faction became nervous. If Yang Feng didn't respond well, then it would be a disaster. Morant's 2867th had a very eccentric temperament. As he grew older, he killed faster and faster, and became more and more unscrupulous. Standing among the courtiers, Busso's back was drenched in cold sweat. He feared that if Yang Feng didn't respond well, then Morant's 2867th would order him to be killed. Yang Feng said with a faint smile, "It's true." Morant's 2867th's eyes suddenly lit up. Yang Feng added without batting an eyelid, "However, Governor Busso is a famous general. After being defeated by him 44 times in a row, this humble servant finally came to his senses. Furthermore, I returned all the plundered property to the aristocrats who were plundered by this humble servant." Morant's 2867th's face became gloomy at once. He originally planned to squeeze hundreds of millions of gold coins from Yang Feng and enjoy himself. An official of the Great Prince's faction jumped out and barked, "Ian, do you think you can return it just because you said so? Do you have any evidence of returning the property to the poor aristocrats you plundered? If you don't, then you're deceiving His Majesty and committing the crime of deceiving the sovereign." Morant's 2867th's face became even gloomier. Yang Feng smiled and flipped his hand, and 3 vials of magic elixirs blossoming with blood-like radiance appeared in his hand. "Your Majesty, I'm a wizard and a grand pharmacist proficient in pharmacology. When I studied pharmacology and traveled the world, I found a potion formula passed down from ancient times. That magic potion formula was as strong as a dragon. As a man, I studied this prescription and successfully concocted a few bottles of dragon-strengthening magic potion. I would like to dedicate these vials to you." Morant's 2867th's eyes constricted and flashed with excitement. He shouted impatiently, "Present them." Once taken by a man, the potion dragon-like strength would allow him to maintain a dragon-like vigor and terrifying physical strength. Besides, not only did it have no side effects, but it also had the effect of strengthening the body. Before the Battle of the Gods, this was the favorite potion of the emperors and greater aristocrats in the secular world. However, due to dragon-like strength, this potion wasn't valued in the era of the Battle of the Gods. Only then did it disappear in the long river of history. In the Victory Palace, there were many potioneers who specialized in concocting various potions for the emperor to take. However, none of those magic potions could compare to the legendary strength of a giant dragon.